welcome to the Bi Plus Pride panel part 2. Yesterday was Femme Friday. Now the boys are back in town. I'm really excited to host this today and get a perspective that I don't have, especially because I'm trying to do more bi advocacy and stuff like that, and I would love to just learn more from y'all's perspectives so that I can have a more rounded view. We'll just, we'll kick it off right off the bat and go one by one here, and I'd love for each of you to kind of introduce yourselves and share, your own personal journeys with like identity and like when you realized you were bi plus. We even had yesterday people talking about like, what was your bi awakening? So King, do you want to kick us off?
Oh man, why do I gotta go first?
Because you're the king.
I suppose so.
The bi king, let's go.
Yeah, hi everyone.
It's him.
It's me. But yeah, hi everybody. My name is King. I'm an indigenous VTuber. I'm Oglala Lakota, for those of you who know what that means. I guess like, I don't know, like my dad's side of the family is Catholic, because actually in a lot of indigenous communities, you will find people are very religious, like Mormons, Catholicism, like stuff like that. And so it can be like really hard to navigate that kind of stuff. I don't know when I found out I was bisexual. I guess it was also again on accident. Because I just thought that being bisexual was normal. I thought that's how everyone felt until one day I was like talking to my friends about like having a crush on somebody, and they were like, that's weird. And I was like, what? Like, y'all don't feel this way too? Like, I don't get it. Oopsies. Uh-oh. And then I went back into the closet. But no, I think I've always known. And I think other people have also like always known, because they kind of bullied me for all of that kind of stuff before I even came out, before I even like knew what any of that shit was. They knew they were like, there's something different about you. And I don't like it.
You had the shine, the sparkle.
You got some spicy. Yeah. I don't like it.
I love the southern accent you put on it. It makes it more real.
Yeah, it makes it more,
Very immersive.
I'm from the Midwest.
I was like,
I felt like I was talking to my dad. It was sick.
Yeah.
Oh God. I'm so sorry.
All right, Slug, would you like to give us a little introduction?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Slug. I am a Slug Boy VTuber. My pronouns are he, him. I am a bisexual little goblin on the internet. Talking about when did I know? I actually talk about this with chat a lot. I talk about queer experiences a lot with chat. It's kind of been something that I adopted as something we kind of do on my stream quite often. But for anybody who's never heard it before, my experience has been interesting. I've run the gamut. I was actually talking about this in the call beforehand about how I kind of lived most of my life as the generic cis white boy, the cishet white boy who does cishet white boy behavior. But I've always kind of had that inclination, you know what I mean? The awakening moment, I think, came with Dante Devil May Cry. I talk about this on stream quite often.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's my
That's so valid. Oh my God.
It was a combination of me seeing him and being like, dude, I'm not gay. I just want to be him. I just really want to be him. And then I would see Trish next to him, right? And I was like, yeah, no. That's because women I just like to look at women. But in reality, I was like, I want to wear that fucking outfit and I want to get railed by Dante. Like that was the mindset. Like that was happening was in my baby brain, but I didn't understand. I kind of kept it to myself for a really, really, really long time and kind of engaged in that like toxic, heteronormativity and kind of reinforce those stereotypes and stuff. And in the way of like kind of imposing them on other people because of my own internalized homophobia and biphobia. And then I kind of started to accept who I was a little bit more. And then, but I didn't come to terms with like being bi until I was watching Pro Mare, the movie with
oh my God.
Yeah. Leo Fotia, the little femboy. And I was like, oh, I'm fucking bi. I was like, oh, I'm fucking bi. I saw the little blonde femboy and I was like, okay, I'm fucking bi. And I just that was the moment that I actually kind of accepted it. And about a year after that, I came out to my wife. We had been married for gosh, we hadn't been married yet, but we'd been together for about 6 years at that point. And then there's some of the stuff that we're going to talk about later today. But being in a heterosexual relationship as a bi person can have a lot of stigma that comes with it. But that was essentially how I kind of came to terms with who I was, and then streaming made it a lot more part of my identity, which I really enjoy now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, Dingus, let's hear from you.
Sure thing. For those of you who don't know who I am Asmodingus, High Priest of Asmodeus, and I am also a bisexual gremlin. I go by he, him. When I found out I was bisexual was a couple of days ago when I ate a whole box of cookies that make you wanna pound a dude.
Whoa,
no,
that's crazy.
Hey, how did you get those? Like asking for a friend.
Oh, yeah, we're doing it.
You got the dick and sucking cookies.
They're the class
We were supposed to bring those to the church.
It was those German
bi
cookies,
pill.
you know?
Yeah.
That
That was part of the agenda. What did you do?
I can't read. So no. ADHD. So I also, as is a common theme from both yesterday and today, grew up religious and had to deal with all of that. I don't know if you can tell by the priest theme, but that's kind of like working through that. But at the same time, I didn't realize, like, when I was a kid, 10-ish, my very first like attraction to anyone was actually to one of my guy friends, but I had no idea that that's what that was, frankly, because, again, grew up in a religious conservative household where they didn't talk about anything. So kind of like didn't think about it for a long time, went through college and then eventually got married to my partner, Kit, my beloved. But it was around 3 years ago that I was really into this one band who I shall not name because it turns out that the singer is kind of a piece of shit. But I was like, man, the way he's like rolling his abs when he sings, that fuck. And I was like, wait a minute. Oh, that.
Hold up.
Oh, it's real, ain't it? And then that episode, I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm definitely biased. So, yeah.
I'm shaking your hand so hard. I'm shaking your hand so hard. Ran from it for so long and like, God damn it. They got me. The homophobic thoughts, they got me. Yeah.
All right, Ray, let's hear from you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Bay Ray. I am a trans Masc, gray ace, non-binary VTuber. Silly little guy, #1 Monster High fan, and just like a little dude. I'm nervous now. I'm nervous now.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
You got this. You're so good.
Yeah.
You mentioned Slug mentioned Promare, and actually, like, I watched a bunch of clips from Promare, and I was like, I want to be a boy.
Let's go. Fucking
But I've played with I've never really been super huge on like labels for sexuality, at least for myself, and I started labeling myself as bisexual about like a year and a half ago. For the past 9-ish years, I was in a relationship with an AFAB person, and within the last 6 months, I got into a relationship with a man, and I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with that identity. My gender and sexuality have been very fluid throughout most of my life. My parents aren't super religious, but also aren't super accepting, but they're tolerable with it. And it's me.
Riri, go ahead and say hello.
All right, before I say anything, fuck the introduction. Can we talk about Promare for a quick second? I'll get to it. I promise I'll get to what I promised. When Slug said Promare, my brain exploded. I remember vividly watching Promare in Discord, my community, and the first time those two guys came on the screen, I said, holy fuck, man.
Holy fuck.
And my mic was muted, and everyone was like, you okay, man? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
You're sweating and gripping your chair.
How many eggs did Promare crack?
My brain was broken. I watched that thing 6 times that month.
I made my straight friend go to that movie with me 3 times. And he was like, yeah, dude, you're really into the animation in this. And I was like, yeah, I'm really into the
animation.
animation of this
Yep,
movie.
that's
I was like,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
really? That's what it is.
The scene of the twink sitting on the chair. That was the one I like.
This
really
one,
liked.
yes.
With his,
I was the same way.
yeah.
For you, that was the gender awakening. For me, that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to
Yep.
be
The
that fucking
attraction.
chair,
You're
dude. What the
shaking
Yeah.
my
fuck?
hand, Slug. I'm shaking your hand.
I'm an office chair so bad right now. I'm a gamer chair so bad. Oh my god. Really, you need to sit on me so bad.
I didn't know femboys could man spread. There was,
And
it
yet
was
here
that
we
was
are,
kind of a
right?
gender awakening for me too. Yeah,
And
I was
yet
like,
It was
here
the
we
whole
are.
thing.
yeah.
Oh fuck. Okay, now I had to get that out of the way. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about.
Oh, no,
Listen,
you're
I get
No,
it.
I love
You
it.
know.
I'm Sleepy Roo, Water Dragon VTuber. When did I first know? Good question. I for a lot of my life, like my parents were very like religious, and it was always like we're always going to church, we're always doing this, and my dad was like, "You are a man, and you are like women, and you're this," and everyone around me echoed that. So for the longest time, when you get told to your face by everybody, like, "Okay, well, everybody's like, I'm this, so I guess I'm this. Sure, I guess." And when you deal with that for so long, with everyone telling you you're exactly what this is and you cannot change and there is no alternative to what being a cishet man is, that's it. The end. Everything else is evil. When you hear that for your entire life, then, you know, once I moved out of my house and I was away from people and I was with friends that are actually, you know, like me and who understand, etc. That's when it clicked. I was like, holy fuck, this exists. It was such a shock too. But yeah, mine just happened. I feel like I didn't have a story, which is funny. It was just like, oh shit, I can. Neat.
That was a theme yesterday too, and I'm sensing a theme today too of the religious upbringing and how
Oh,
it
yeah.
can kind of hold you back for a long time. So,
For sure.
so I guess my first, now that we've kind of said hello to everybody, by the way, !collab, go give them all a follow. The first question I kind of have, which is I think kind of expanding on what we were talking about, you know, like with some of you mentioned, you know, like whether you've come out or not. But I'd love to hear about, you know, any experiences with coming out, whether you have or you haven't. And I know, like, obviously you're all out enough for me to have found you for this panel in an online space,
Right.
but that doesn't always translate to IRL. So if anybody wants to share any like stories about like where you're comfortable in your identity and maybe any reactions you had to coming out.
All right, yeah. I think the first person I told was my dad, and it was weird to tell him because I was the same guy who kind of started the whole, okay, well, you can't do any, etc. Right? So him being the first person was so odd, and it wasn't like I remember not needing to tell anybody. I was like, all right, I don't know if I'm ready to like, you know, come out and have those conversations with people, and it happened kind of unintentionally because he was like, oh, you know, well. You're whatever age you are now. I'm not getting grandkids, and I'm like, and then what him saying that kind of made me go, actually, Dad. Funny enough,
Actually,
That's crazy.
funny you talk about grandchildren. I don't know if you're not get one of those. Sorry, man.
Man.
And it was so crazy to like have him be so. I guess the word is understanding, have him be so nonchalant about it after all those years of being the exact opposite. And I was like, yeah, like I'm pansexual, and I had to explain to him what it means because the idea of being anything that isn't straight, he has no clue. And then once I explained it to him, he was like, oh, all right, whatever. And it was so shocking to have him be so chill after the opposite. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make this an argument. I'm like, yeah, the yippee. He didn't get mad.
That's really nice.
hell
It's,
yeah.
it can be
Yeah.
so scary, and to have a positive experience like that is
Yeah, it was super shocking. I
Relieving.
thought it was gonna like, you know, because you know what I know what he usually does is not a great response. Ha 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 ha. So for him to just be like, yeah, man, whatever, just I don't know, I'll see you at Thanksgiving. It was so shocking.
That kind of happened to me too. Like, my family had always been like semi homophobic. Like, you know, when like your uncles and shit make like homophobic jokes, like when you see queer people on the TV, like Thanksgiving, or
Oh yeah.
when you're like having dinner, like
Yeah.
people say that kind of stuff, and it makes you feel like, oh, I probably won't be able to come out to these people because, like I said, I think I've just always known. And so when I finally did, everyone like I think they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I actually came out to my mom twice because I came out and then she forgot that I came out. and then I came out again.
wild.
Yeah, on, like when gay marriage got legalized, I was like, you know, I guess I'll just like come out to my whole family. But also
Remember, I'm one of those.
yeah. At one
Previous
point, my mom
episode.
was like, I can't remember what we were talking about, but she was like, "Oh, you know, I'm bisexual too." And I was like, wait a minute, what? And she was like, yeah, I like girls. And I was like,
Wow.
oh. And then she was like, does that make me a part of the LGBT community? And I was like, what do you think the B stands for, bro? Like,
Yeah.
She thought the B was breakfast cereal for real.
I guess. But I don't know. That was really interesting. But yeah, it's weird when you like, oh, they've been this way like my whole life. And then like when I came out, my families are like split. So like my dad and my mom, like they don't interact with each other. But I couldn't come out to my dad, who is indigenous. He's Lakota, and like his family's Catholic. And then my mom and my stepdad are like agnostic. So they didn't really give a shit about like religion, and it didn't really have that much of an impact from them on like their feelings about the LGBT community. But when I came out to my dad, I was so scared. I had my mom do it. I was like, you need to tell him because I can't do this.
Yeah.
She was like, I haven't messaged this man in
Valid.
like 7 years. And this is the first thing I'm going to tell him is that your son is gay and your daughter is pregnant.
Gay
Dude,
son,
just fucking
thought daughter,
aggro.
no way.
Prophecy fulfilled.
Prophecy.
It has come true.
We finally
That's
found one boy.
wild.
Oh yeah, it's sick.
The collection is
Hey.
complete.
My experience is a bit similar to that.
Yeah.
Sort of like I talked about kind of how I came out, where I kind of had the realization. The first person I came out to was my partner, because we were together at the time already. And they had to sit with it for a bit because they weren't sure what that meant. And it didn't change anything about our relationship. It was just like, this is an aspect of myself I've been suppressing for a really long time. And for the most part, it's just kind of subjected to anime boys. But when I then kind of extended to my friends, my cishet friend group, the ones that I had kind of, we had grown past the, like you were talking about the how the uncles always do the homophobia at fucking Thanksgiving and shit. And it's just that normalized, white supremacist mindset that kind of gets normalized in our society to kind of impose that homophobia on other people.
Yeah.
And that was something we kind of all practiced without realizing. And then we kind of all undid those aspects of ourselves. And then after, I was by there, yeah, man, dude, that's cool. You're always going to be my friend. And I was like, thanks. And then the last person who found out, I haven't told my dad yet, not because I'm like afraid to or anything. I just kind of haven't gone out of my way, but my mom comes to my Twitch chat a lot. So she was in my chat one day and I was talking about like boy kissing and stuff. And she was like, are you gay? And I was like, I'm bi. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. So that's how my mom found out, because of Twitch. So yeah, that's my experience.
Oh, okay. All
My
right.
experience was a bit interesting because like picture this is before I ever like thought I was trans, but picture like a AFAB Bay Area, like 14, like 2014, like fresh marriage is legal, like gay marriage is legalized. I was like, Mom, I think I might, because I had just gotten into a relationship with an AFAB person. I was with them for like 9 years, so it lasted a while. It wasn't really a phase or anything. But I told my mom, and she's like, "Where did I go wrong?" Which was like really upsetting at the time for like a sensitive 14-year-old. But she is way more like chill with it now. Like we literally had like a conversation in the pool across from our house, just like talking about stuff. And she's like, "Oh yeah, people like I think everybody like plays around with stuff sometimes," and so I think she's more chill about it. But like it's weird comparing, like, say if you like came out like a long time ago to like the energy now, especially with how like normalized things are compared to back in like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
It's like people kind of chill out a little bit. I haven't come out as trans. I live with them currently, and I'm still like AFAB presenting, like
Sure.
like IRL. So like it's a little like I don't tell them that I'm bisexual or trans or anything, but they know like our kid's fucking fruity. And like I'm a very, very liberal too. Like I have very liberal like opinions on stuff. Like we'll watch the news and I'll like make comments like this is bullshit. So they but it's like my dad never really cared. I don't think I ever came out to my dad. My dad just knew at one point I had a girlfriend, and they came to Christmas one year, like, but like my mom's reaction was very, very interesting because she I don't know, my parents weren't openly homophobic really, but like when I was a kid, I have a very stark memory of like going to a campground in Maine and seeing two gay men walk out of like a communal shower, and like hearing a comment from someone in my family saying, "Oh, they should keep that behind closed doors." And I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like
Oh,
8,
that's
by
hard
the
to
way.
hear.
And I was like, why would they say that? They're just people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wasn't really raised in like a homophobic household, but it was just like the common belief at the time of gay people bad.
Mm.
And it definitely shows like where we have come as a society, because like those comments aren't really common anymore. Like I still hear slurs sometimes, but like it's things are way more accepting nowadays, and I think I was very lucky to have like a not terrible reaction to being a little fruity. I guess that was just my experience.
Hell
Absolutely.
yeah. I got one real quick. So, and by the way, speaking of liberal, I'm kind of a yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm a socialist. Anyway,
Same,
so
bestie, let's
like
go.
the Joker. So I remember I got into an argument. This was actually not that long after like my acceptance of myself at 25. If I'm being entirely honest, it's also more like a realization, because you'd be surprised how often like the puzzle will be right there. I'm like Joe Biden with the 2 puzzle pieces, and I can't. I'm like, I need someone to be like, what, right there, you know? So, and that's going to come into play here in a second. So I was having an argument with my mother over the phone in regards to an art piece that was shared. And it was a very nice piece of art that I won't go into. But eventually it came to the discussion of like where I was as a person. And we talked about several facets of that. And one of the things that I just kind of like decided to blurt out was like, I'm bisexual. And then my mother hit me with, oh, dingus, we knew. And I'm like,
Oh, we can smell it on you,
you didn't
boy.
tell me? Like, you didn't know this. And I'm me.
Figure it out.
Like, yeah. Just put it together for 2 puzzle pieces. So yeah, no, that's how that happened. And my parents, you know, by that point they were already a lot more chill with it. Unlike you know what I heard growing up. They were always a little bit better about that kind of stuff, but they definitely mellowed out and opened up even more as we became adults. Plus, now like 4 of their 6 kids are LGBT. So yeah.
They're maxing. Let's
Like
go.
collecting them like trading cards at this point.
We're gay maxing.
Gay maxing. Yeah.
The next question I kind of have, you know, building off of that, I think, you know, sometimes we face it a little bit when we're coming out, but a lot of times we face it like in virtual spaces where we see a lot of like invalidation for like bi plus identities. Or even like invalidation of your masculinity when you come out as bi, or you know, there's you know, a lot of things that can make us feel like shame or stigma. So I was wondering, like, if any of you had any maybe like negative experiences you want to share with like your any kind of invalidation you might have faced at any point.
Oh,
I kind of do. Oh, do you want to go?
I went for I'm not doxing myself here, but I live in and around the Boston area, and I went, one of my first Pride things I think was like 2017 Boston Pride, and I remember like I think I didn't have any gender pins, but I had like a whole slew of like different like sexuality pins on my person just to like show support and stuff. Boston mentioned, let's go. Ayo, where my Boston people from? Boston.
Boston.
But
Boston.
I'm not directly from Boston, but I'm a New Englander. But I remember just seeing like a couple of like, not a couple, but like a decent amount of people with like kind of biphobic shirts on, or just very invalidating shirts. And it's like, why would you go to a Pride event that's for LGBT, like the whole slew of us, and have like just a phobic ass kind of like, which like I feel like there should be like a thing with Pride, like to be like, oh, you have a phobic thing, get the fuck out.
That
like,
too should be not welcomed at Pride.
It's literally listen, no cops at Pride and no phobia.
Yes.
based.
and it's so frustrating because it's like can I real quick, the fucking tweet like, don't bring your straight boyfriend to Pride. It's like,
Yeah.
guess what? Pride is for everyone of the acronym and our allies, because we would be nowhere without our allies. Like,
Yeah.
it's so invalidating. On top of that, like I've heard so many things for the years from at different Pride, like just in passing, like different Pride events, like people like seeing like clearly a trans person with their boyfriend, and like saying just some awful comments like, oh well, they're not really like bi if they're with like a trans man. It invalidates not only bisexuality but also like trans people, like oh, you don't see that person as what they are, and it's like it's so shitty, and it makes me incredibly angry.
So for anyone listening, the tweet is, it says, this has nothing to do with anyone being bisexual, but I don't want your cishet BF in a queer space. Like, leave him at home. Don't bring him to Pride. Don't bring him to Chapel Roan. Why would a man be there?
That's wild. Why would a man be there? It's the gate, like, homie, you went so far around from like progressivism to going back into a new form of heteronormativity. Like, what are you doing?
Queer men love Chapel Roan. Like, I love her. I love her. Like, what do you mean?
Washing the dishes and started crying today.
Yeah, I did.
That's a good Saturday right there.
I actually did a queer karaoke before this on my stream earlier today.
Yeah.
That's what I do for Pride every year, and I
Awesome.
sang Chapel Roan, and I did my other favorite. This is how I describe her. I did Sabrina Carpenter, who I describe as a straight white girly for the gays. They don't make them. They don't make them like that anymore. They don't make them like that anymore.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Oh, it's just so counterproductive.
It is, yeah.
It also it plays into the stereotype of what a person should look like based on what their identity is. And it's like it's like you can't make the assumption of what a person's identity is based on how they look. That is purely a stereotype. You can't make it. You can't base it off of body language, like tone, how they dress. Like that is just pure stereotypes, and it's like it's so shitty, and it plays into the stigma against certain identities in the community.
Yeah. And circling back, I know King, you had mentioned you might have had like an experience with like some invalidation.
Yeah. So I lean more towards like the I like man.
Yeah.
But like I like everybody, but I just have a preference for like men and more masculine people. And sometimes I get, and I know that people don't do it on purpose, but people will only take that part of my identity, of my bisexuality, and like kind of like turn me into like their like fantasy like yaoi boy. And then anytime I express attraction towards women, they will like immediately become like disgusted with me. And it's like, it's not fair to me because, both of those things are a part of who I am and a part of my identity and my bisexuality. And I've had people like well-meaning chatters, even though my stream is literally tagged bisexual, call me like homosexual, or like they say there's like a lot of, oh man, I could get into this forever, but sometimes people will call me a femboy or a twink, which I don't have a problem with like either of those things, but like I am not those things. And I feel like that is the only way that people know how to interact with like a gay man. Is like there will be like a bear in the room and they'll be like, oh my god, look at that twink. I'm like, that's literally not a twink. Like you just don't know, you don't know what else to say because this person is gay.
Fan problem.
They pick up on buzzwords like little flies.
That's what it is.
It really is. I'm like, you want to call me a slur so bad, but you're just gonna call me a twink instead.
You're just gonna call me a twink instead. Yeah, word, right. That's the almond milk instead of the real thing,
And it's I don't know. Like I understand that people like they're just excited, I guess. But I'm like, I'm not like, your yaoi fantasy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's
like
a
fetishization to a point.
It plays into
especially because I'm a brown man.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, especially because I'm a Native American.
He's gonna follow up on some of that too, because I kind of have it from a similar perspective. I do identify as a femboy, right? I do like that identification. That's what I present myself as. Right. But I definitely understand what you're talking about when it comes to that somebody in chat said it, where it stems from this sentiment of objectification, and whether or not you are a femboy like me, or whether you're just, masc-leaning, bisexual presenting. It's this: how do I objectify you? How do I put you into this box and then treat you as this one thing, so I can only understand that one thing? And the objectification I get quite often comes from the femboy element. There are so many times when I have people just come into my chat, and the only fucking thing they've ever said, and the first thing they say is just bussy. So it's like,
oh my god,
yeah, man. What happened to
hello? How are you?
What happened to how are you? Right? Like, let's work up the bussy. You know what I mean?
What happened to hi, my name is?
Hi, my name is. Yeah. And I think a lot of that just stems from this objectification. I think a lot of that comes from the patriarchal tendency to sort of infantilize women and femme-presenting people, and the association with queerness as being inherently feminine from a perspective of cis het normativity, which is where I think a lot of that comes from. And it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
I think for me personally, I'll go ahead.
No, go ahead, Riri. I already hit the Zoom button, so commit.
It's too late.
Commit to
I think for me, it's a little weird because the stories of invalidation, and like I've had a couple partners and like some friends invalidate me, sure, but I think the biggest invalidation for me, truthfully, has come from myself. For me, with discovering who I was as a person, it just kind of blinked under the scene. It just happened one day. I was like, oh my god, like I'm definitely like all this. This makes sense to me. This is right. But after having all those people around you for years telling you you're this is you specifically, right? And then I have all my friends who are part of the rainbow, like going through all these experiences, doing all these things, right? Living their lives in this way, right? And I look at myself and I'm like, am I like quote unquote gay enough? Am I this enough, right? And like, and then I had to realize like, okay, well, Riri, there is no gay enough. There is no quote unquote trans enough. I'm like, that's not a thing. It's not real, right? You're still valid based on your experiences and what, I am and who I've done as a person, right? It took me a long time to realize that and not invalidate myself, because it's just how I was raised and it's what I came from. And I realized how wrong that was. But I was the first person to do that to me, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with that. Am I queer enough? Am I bi enough? Am I trans enough? You mentioned that one. I think that's something a lot of people struggle with in terms of the self-presentation aspect. And I think for anybody who struggles with that in chat, it's you're the only one who gets to decide that. Nobody else gets to decide that for you.
Yeah.
Whatever you are comfortable with, that is enough. So never let anybody else make you feel otherwise.
Yeah. Like,
I really
are you happy?
that. Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
I've gotten into like full on like arguments on Twitter with other trans men, because they'll be like, well, what are you doing if you're not transitioning? And it's like, you are not the trans police. You don't get to dictate how we're supposed to look, or how far we're supposed to transition, or because it also depends on the environment, the financial situation, insurance, and all this stuff. That's like at no point should any person of a certain demographic be like an oppressor, especially because like that they are starting to oppress other people in that same identity. It's like you do not dictate who is or isn't blank enough,
Right. Trying to reinforce a gender binary based off of quote unquote passing is absolutely wild and
like I've directly had people like even in my chat in real life, or just multiple things be like, oh, well, you're not transitioning, you're not trans enough. It's like, motherfucker, I live in a home where I can't even, I can't do that. I don't have money. But also it's like, I've had people be regulars in my chat, look at my character and continue to misgender me. And it's like, do you know where you are right now?
Yeah.
It makes me so incredibly angry, because you're just furthering the oppression of other LGBT people by trying to set a standard.
Exactly.
Labels, I think, I talk about this a lot in my stream, in that when people struggle with labels, I think the sentiment that people should have is that labels are there to help you, to guide you, but they're not like a permanent thing. You know what I mean? They don't need to be a permanent thing. They're only as applicable as you want them to be. So if you don't completely vibe with that label and it needs to change, then that's completely valid. And anybody who tries to impose labels upon you, right? Like what King was talking about, like, oh, you're a femboy, like that's wild. It's I know a lot of people struggle with that, the comfortable aspect of the term, because it can be used to kind of invalidate trans people a lot. And it's why I always say that I'm a femboy, but don't call people femboys if they're not comfortable with that term. Unless they speak to that themselves, don't do that, because you don't know what somebody's experience is like.
Ultimately, what that I think a good way to kind of sum that up is that bi plus people don't owe you homosexuality, and then trans femme people don't owe you femininity, trans masc people don't owe you masculinity, and non-binary people do not owe you androgyny. They can define themselves as they wish, and you have no place to say anything like that. So yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Man's be spitting facts.
That's real.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's something I struggled with for a long time. So hearing that from other people, especially like in the past when there's nobody around you, when everyone else around you is cishet dude, it's not something you can express or talk about. Like, how do you articulate those feelings to somebody? And if you do, like, I remember once I've done that, and then someone would kind of spit it back in my face and go, "Okay, what are you talking to me about?" Like, well, never mind.
Right. Here I am trying to fucking meet you where you're at.
Exactly. So it's so nice to be in a room with people and hear, like, that I don't have to conform to some kind of standard. There is no gay meter. There's no fucking trans meter. It's just nice to be validated and heard.
There's no power level that you need to hit.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Power
You're as
level's
valid as
awesome.
you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's why something like this is so important.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing this, Moon, because I think
thank you.
we don't know how many
Of course.
lurkers there are in chat who are experiencing something similar, and just hearing it from all the people here, just making it realize, like, oh, okay, I don't have to struggle with that sentiment.
And I actually have had multiple friends who have been, cis male, straight their whole lives that have approached me in DMs, leading up to this event, that have been talking about, like, sometimes this bi advocacy and stuff is making them realize things about themselves. And so I really hope you all know who you are, that you're in chat and you're watching, and I hope this is helping. I think it's funny, we talk, whether it's transness, biness, these kind of these issues where we are being invalidated both from outside the queer community, but inside as well. And it almost hurts more when it's coming from inside the queer community, because you think this is where we're supposed to belong, and instead we end up feeling very outside of any spectrum, right? Like, it's like, okay, you don't want me at Pride, but obviously I don't fit in with straight folks, so where do I belong? And so that can be a big struggle. Especially monosexualism, I think, is something that we get pressured towards. I'll explain this again, just in case anybody wasn't here for part 1 of the panel. So monosexualism would be identities like gay, lesbian, or heterosexual. Basically, you are attracted to one gender. And bi, as an umbrella term, means attracted to one or more genders. That's why it's bi. It doesn't mean men or women. It includes non-binary identities, trans identities. If anybody ever tells you that it's transphobic to be bi or transphobic to be pan,
that's the biggest thing that I've gotten from in terms of biphobia, and people saying that you're invalidating non-binary people and trans people, and I'm like, girl, I don't even know you. What the fuck are you talking about?
Tumblr set us back 10 years.
I've never seen you before in my life, gang.
I think I remember talking to Moon last night before she started the femme side, was like both pansexual people and bi people are valid, because guess what, I'm a trans man and I identify as bisexual. It's not erasing anybody.
What are you talking about?
Preference and what identity you feel more comfortable with. Because I remember what 2016, 2017 Tumblr, people being like, actually, if you're bi, you're transphobic and blah 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 blah. It's like, no. It's like, do you not see trans men and women as men and women?
It's just reinforcing gender norms in a really bizarre and twisted way. And for me, for my part, and I don't know how many other people on this panel have a similar situation, but The only reason I identify as bi over pan is because I like the flag colors better. Like, straight
Oh my god, I
straight up. That's
It's
literally all it is.
universal. We had the
Yeah.
same sentiment on the other panel as well.
You're all shaking hands.
I feel so.
Yeah.
We're all so
better.
real for that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, Blurple, fucking sign me up. Let's go. Yeah.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes so much sense. Yeah, like when I was starting to like figure things out, understand, and like, okay, this is who I am, right? And like coming into everything and getting knowledge, I was looking at everything and I was talking to my partner at the time, and I'm like, damn it. And they were like, what's wrong? And I was like, I know I'm pan after like thinking like I'm for sure, but like, damn, those bi flag colors are sick. I was like, oh man, I lost.
Join us, join us, join us.
Well, the great
Dude,
thing is it's an
it's so
umbrella
clean.
flag, so you can use
Right.
both.
True.
You fall under
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing
Kinda
I
like
saw.
what we were
I was
talking
like, oh, yeah.
The only rules that are there are the
Yeah.
ones that you want to impose on yourself. And
Exactly,
it's-
yeah.
it's how you
Exactly.
feel comfortable with them.
Can I go back to something
Yeah.
that we were talking about a
Yeah,
little
of
bit
course.
earlier? People were thanking you for setting this up, and I think that things like this are like not only really cool, but I think that they're really important because, like, I think especially as like an indigenous person, like I don't get a lot of representation in media, and like queer indigenous people, fat fucking chance. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely not. Like, there's this movie called Big Eden that came out in like 2000, and there is a gay indigenous man in it. I don't think the actor is gay, but the character is gay, and that's like all we had. Like, that was like it.
Yeah.
And unless it was like
Yeah.
something that was like super super niche, that was like, you know, like just involved like, you know, your tribe, so, or somebody from your tribe, so you knew about the project or whatever. But it was just like, you know, like I think sometimes people just don't realize their identities because they've never seen somebody who is like them being openly queer in, and you know, being very proud of it. Because sometimes I think like some people were talking about it earlier, but you can, if you have a lot of internalized homophobia, it can be really hard to accept that and like that part of yourself. And then if you can't see other people who look like you being openly queer in any space that you are a part of, it can be like especially hard to be like, oh, I guess it is okay. It is okay for me to feel these things and be the way that I am.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
triple
I have a-
thank you.
I have a tangent that I could follow off of this. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
okay. It kind
Sure.
of goes into a
Yeah.
completely entire other conversation. I think kind of what King's getting at, the aspect of representation is so incredibly important. And it's why when you see people get mad about it, it kind of proves the point that like you're mad about this because this is not the default you're used to seeing. And it's
Yeah,
why it's important for us
exactly.
to be able to see it so that people can recognize those terms, those identities, that these things are normal, that these are things that exist in society. And we were kind of talking about it a little bit before we went live about how I used to be a teacher. I used to be a history teacher myself. And I've talked about this with my chat a lot. And a big part of what I advocate for is queer education. And for those of for those people who go to my streams, they know I'm from Texas. And Texas is a very hostile place to queer people.
Yeah.
Especially from the perspective of education. So the sentiment that I hold is that you need to be able to educate people about these things. If I would have had the terms to understand what a bisexual person was, what a trans person was when I was a kid, when I was a student, I wouldn't have taken me so long to figure it out. And I wouldn't have understood. I very much understood the trans experience through a reactionary lens myself. Around the era of Gamergate. That's going to be a fun name drop for people in chat, right? Because I didn't know what a trans person was. I had never had it explained to me. So if I had that explained to me at a younger age, I wouldn't have experienced it through a reactionary lens. I wouldn't have had to deprogram a lot of that bigotry that was kind of instilled in me. And that's why I advocate for the sentiment of we need to be able to teach about it. And when people are actively pushing back against the sentiment of being able to teach about it, that is a form of bigotry. It is trying to enforce this heteronormativity that we have in our society.
I think that might be a good place to take our ad break. We've been at it an hour already. Can you believe that?
That's
It feels like
crazy.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Remember when I thought the panel is only going to be an hour and a half. That's cute.
Yeah, cute.
Wasn't it the one last night like
I
2.5 hours?
It went 2.5, and that was only because I
Yeah.
was like, okay, we're racing. We either have to run another ad and go another hour, or we're ending here. Let's
We're
go.
gambling.
We're so
Welcome
bad.
back.
I mean,
Aw, dang it.
Be heterosexual. Aw, dang it.
Let's
Aw, dang it.
the bomb. We're too
Yeah.
autistic.
Yeah.
Now we're all autistic.
Yeah, we just
The
talked about.
echolalia hits strong.
We just talked about. We're like, oh wait, are we all like neurodivergent too?
Yup.
Oh, the vocal
Yup.
stems are popping off.
Someone hit the stim button. We all just, mine.
Aw,
I want
dang
that.
it.
Mine.
Hey,
Rolling
what's
the
up?
brain cell around like marbles.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I think I'm 16 people right now.
See, the two panels aren't so different. Exactly. We have so much in
Yeah.
common. I know, Ray, we said we were going to circle back. We'll circle back later because I think this is too good of a transition. We were talking about neurodivergency, and it's, especially we have found a lot of folks in the VTubing space that are under the LGBTQIA umbrella. They're under the neurodivergent umbrella. I think finding a lot of folks in this space has been really rewarding, at least for me. It's been nice to I feel so normal here.
Right.
Finally, I'm normal.
I'm normal. Wow. How has VTubing helped you feel, maybe has it made you feel more comfortable, more proud of your identity? Have any of you had any experiences with VTubing specifically and being in this space?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I can speak to that because one of the things I did alongside when I moved away from home and got out of that toxic environment, I also started VTubing. So it was literal night and day to go from hanging out with cishet people who would invalidate me or disrespect me, or my parents at home wouldn't accept me, to a group of people who were just like me. And I was a little mad. I'm like, God damn it, you guys have just been hanging out here the whole time?
Didn't know it could be this good.
You've been here being cartoon characters. I could have been doing this. No one sent me an email. It was so bad. I'm happy everyone's so welcoming. I'm still thankful for it, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have a kind of a similar perspective on it, in that not so much that I felt invalidated, but that I had to kind of keep secret the certain aspects of myself. A lot of it was the feminization that I really identify with for myself. So once I started streaming, once I started VTubing, I always make the joke that my chat force-femmed me, but the reality is they just made me more comfortable being feminine. That's the bit we have at my stream. Literally, that's the joke.
The femboy sunray.
Yeah. No. I don't like light beer anymore. No, what's happening? Yeah,
We just did Doofenshmirtz. That was awesome.
Oh my god!
Listen to his lore video and listen to him now. That's our fun bit to do. Whenever we have new people in my chat, we're like, let's go listen to my lore video from 3 years ago, and you can hear how deep and cishet my voice is, and comparative to now, and it's just that I just got more comfortable being who I am.
Pipeline.
And
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. The teacher to VTuber to femboy pipeline. It's real.
There you go.
Watch out. Yeah.
Slug, I need somebody to draw Slug as that bimbofication meme, but with just
Oh my god.
That's so, I've been waiting for somebody to do it for me, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do it myself.
Give me your rep sheet. I got you.
No,
pulls
okay.
out my drawing tablet. I guess I have it.
That's
I'm being modest here, but the bimbofication is fucking real. I have gone full boy wife in my real life, and I got the way I'm putting. My wrist has gotten limper in the past 3 years. I'll just put it
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I have some kind of interesting. I don't know how many of you are into corporate VTubers, because I feel like the being openly queer in corpo world is very different from indie world, because I have been watching VTubers since Kizuna Ai. I've been on that train since for a really long time. Yeah, since the first HoloLive JP waves and the first Holo EN wave. I have not all of, but a lot of those people will hint at maybe being queer, or they will like talk about things or like say things where maybe but they won't ever explicitly say it, and I feel like it's kind of sad to see that because they're doing it for like a specific reason, whether it's like kayfabe or like they're like whatever corporation they're a part of just literally won't let them like disclose that information about themselves. I think it like also some of them will like flirt with each other, but then like I have seen some of the people who do that like explicitly state that they are heterosexual, and that
Yeah, they
they're
have to
like
clarify.
yeah, they have to be like yeah, but
No
like
homo.
yeah, but so like I've seen people do it in like a way like that where they're like they will very frequently flirt with like their gen mates, and then like when people they're like, ew, you think I'm actually gay? Cringe. I'm like, okay, well, but like
Well, you don't gotta say it like that.
yeah, I'm like, well, you don't have to say it like that, bro. Yeah.
Hey, now,
What do you mean by that?
Put it that way, man. I get a little.
Just
Yeah.
call me
Yeah.
slur next time, Jesus.
Right, you
No,
might as well.
literally.
Hey, I agree with you. I think a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff's kind of what we were talking about before, where it's the normalization of that cis het mindset, and that's the standard. And
Where it's like
Yeah,
okay to be gay for like just a joke, but then like you
Right,
have to say
right,
no
right.
homo. And then like
Right.
if people think, oh my god, straight men love talking about like kissing each other and having sex. And then
Right.
the minute that you even imply that they might actually be gay, they get like,
Yeah.
Right.
what do you mean? And it's like, oh, brother.
And that gay for clout thing. Remember
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
Remember how everybody was like, "Oh, you're just gay for clout," and I was like,
yeah.
"What?
Uh,
I get called slurs here. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like.
Yeah.
I remember like I used to be in part of certain circles, and like it was like people would be like, just stop queer washing, stop well, I don't remember what the term was, but it was like
What
Queer
the fuck
baiting?
does that mean?
queer baiting,
I've
queer
never-
baiting.
Queer
Yeah.
baiting, yeah.
That's literally what the straight corpos are doing though, where they're like
They
they're
are,
like kind
yeah.
of adopting some of this aspect, and whether or not
Yeah.
they actually identify that way or not. When you kind of like, oh cool, some
Yeah.
representation, they're like, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
What? Like
It's
oh
like-
okay.
People
Yeah.
like I'm like kind of 50-50 with queer baiting because like I feel like anybody can like play around with what their
Right.
sexuality is, but there is
Yeah.
there's definitely a certain flavor, especially like with cis het white men that are like
Right.
have a big audience of like younger, probably like more feminine people. They will consistently queer bait because like it brings them money, and that's when queer baiting
Yeah.
is like actually like harmful, like
Yeah.
because
Right.
it's like you are only okay with the gay identity for your own like gain, and it's
Yeah.
it's
But you
it's
were
really
not
harmful 'cause,
supporting.
like,
You were not putting in the
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
actually help out that
Yeah.
community while profiting from it. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
further kind of reinforces that objectification we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, right?
Yeah,
Where it's
exactly.
Come into
oh,
my
you
chat.
like boys and you're slender.
Yeah.
You're such a
Yeah.
twink. Like, oh, dude, like, come on,
Twink.
fuck off. Like, just chill.
real.
Like, just be normal. For
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just calm down,
The
brother.
straight
Yeah,
people
calm
learn
down.
buzzwords and they run with them.
They just
Oh,
slap
yeah.
it.
I don't even want to
Yeah.
talk
We
about
need to-
top
we
and
need to-
bottom and
Yep.
dom and
Oh,
sub. Like I can't
God.
away
even.
from the straights. We
Oh,
can't. They can't.
fuck.
They can't have
We
it anymore. They can't
gotta
handle
take it away from them.
Yeah,
People
they
will call me a
cannot handle
bottom
it.
for being like nice to people. They're like,
Right.
you're like slightly
Yeah.
feminine and you're nice.
Yeah.
Bottom tendencies. And I'm like,
You have
You're
no
like,
idea what
literally.
a bottom
Thank
is.
you. And they're
worst
like,
one.
wow, you're such a bottom. And they're like, oh,
It's like,
okay.
what does that
It's such a
mean?
problem in VTubing too, like
Oh,
especially
yeah.
with men in
True.
VTubing,
Yeah.
male VTubers. You are all
Oh yeah.
objectify. Like I, it's the bottom thing is so tired. It's so tired.
I'm sick
Yeah.
of it.
Right.
I told my
We're
chat, I'm
tired,
like, if
babe.
y'all
We're
call me that, I'm
tired.
just like banning people. Like if y'all
Yeah.
call me a femboy, if y'all call me a twink, if y'all call me a bottom, it's over. Like you're
As
out
you
of here.
should.
We have
Yeah,
to
I
start
think if
discarding
it's
these
not-
people.
If it's not something you're comfortable
Pay the
with, you
fee.
like
Yeah.
in reality, like nobody should be
Stomp it out.
subjecting you to that shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
genuinely.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to
Yeah.
like, ban
But
or
your
time
boundaries are
out or
important.
police your chat
Right.
a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
doesn't matter what their intentions are if it
'cause
hurts
when
you.
I think we've all been in the position where we kind of let it go for a little
Yeah.
too long.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
We
yeah.
go let it go
Yep.
too long,
Mhm.
and then you got to kind of like retroactively undo it because somebody's getting a little
Yeah.
too wild with
Yeah.
it. And you're
Try
like,
not to
okay, now I gotta have this
Exactly.
uncomfortable conversation with this guy when I could have really just timed him out.
Now it's
Yeah.
weird.
Doing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
one really good example of that is not to call out this a good friend of mine, Candy Crypt, is like they literally have a B word or like bitch, bottom, etc. like redeemed because their community was running so far with the bottom thing that it got to like I think it got tiring for them. I'm not quite exactly sure, but like it's like y'all can't keep hitting the same dead horse hoping it's funny.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And bottom
The
and
My
sub
Little
are
Pony
two
infection
different
AU
things.
has fallen out, babe. Stop hitting it.
Yeah. Good God.
Yeah, exactly. Like they often use bottom in the wrong context. It's
Yep.
like
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
it's very much like taking queer terms and then just kind of like running wild
It's-
with them in a way that doesn't
It's
make
just
any sense.
repackaging heteronormativity again. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
you act demure to some extent,
Yeah.
right? So
Or
you're
they're
a
like-
bottom, which is just another way of
Yeah.
them being like, you're a woman, you're girl,
Right.
Yeah.
You're in a
You're
gay
girl in my
relationship. Who's the
cis-het
man and
brain.
who's the woman?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
one's the
that's not
man,
how
which
this
one's the
works.
woman?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
that says a lot about you because to be able to repackage the phrase bottom and try to turn it into something derogatory and attack. I look
Yeah.
at you. I don't want to say I look at you different, but I look at you different. What did you mean
I look
when
at you
said that?
different.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean when you said
Yeah,
ha?
completely.
And you said
Gonna
ha?
hit
I
you
bet
with
you're
the
a
side eye
bottom.
for sure.
What
Yeah.
did that
Yeah.
mean when you said yeah, you're definitely a bottom? What did that mean when you said that?
Yeah. Clarify,
Why
please.
is that
Yeah.
a gotcha?
Yeah. Mhm.
Like, why is that a
Yeah.
bad thing?
For the
It's
chat.
just them
Yeah.
trying
Why
to
am I caught now?
repackage the negative term
Yeah.
of gay. It's like
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
trying to take any
Yeah.
kind of like
that's-
LGBT terminology and make it into like an offensive thing. It's like
Yeah.
Gay is a pejorative.
Just call me a slur.
Yeah.
different
You might as well.
capacity.
Yeah.
Just call me a slur next time.
Just say the
Yeah.
words that you
Call
want
me a
to.
slur.
I'll say it with
go-
you.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Can you make that joke?
You give them the
Is that
lead in, but
legal
then you
in your
don't finish it, and they only say it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's legal?
Yeah. Got him.
Yeah.
Let's hold
funny
hands.
how-
I will say it with you. Go ahead.
That like ties into with like something I kind of wanted to bring up, which is like it seems like something that I picked up from the last panel is that like there's this bi stereotype of like all bi women are actually straight and just kind of pretending to be gay,
Oh my God.
and all bi men are actually gay and just haven't figured it out yet.
Yup.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
so if anybody want to like kind of talk on that kind of negative stereotype and why it sucks.
Oh yeah, it's I've for sure been there. It's such a weird feeling too. I've had partners do that to me, especially like when I was talking about coming out to them and letting them know, hey, like by the way, I'm this or I'm that, and to just get slapped on or passed over just because I'm mask presenting. It's like, oh yeah, like that just means you like dudes, right? Or I've had a partner go, okay, so we're breaking up. And I'm like, huh? And they're
Oh,
like, yeah,
wow.
well, I mean, well, that means you like dudes, exclusively dudes. So what am I here for? I'm like shocked. It's such a
It's-
surreal, like it's
That's
such a real thing to
sucks.
hear,
Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
Aw.
yeah.
I
don't
kind of
think you
have
know
a
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of have a personal experience with that where, like I said, I kind of came at things from a much more like cishet, normalized perspective. And as I kind of started to accept my biness, and I told my partner, who up at that point was also het as far as she was concerned, she kind of had a similar reaction. She was like, well, what does that mean for us? Does that change anything? And I was like, no. And she was like, okay, I need just a couple days to process it. And this was after the fact that she's actually 10 years older than I am. So she's kind of from a perspective where it was even more harrowing, and she kind of unlearned a lot of it. But one of the things she said very early on when we were first dating was that bisexuality isn't a thing, just pick one. And she
That's
she
so
unlearned
common.
that, obviously, but it's so common. And what
Yeah.
I say this to say that after about a year of me kind of living my truth, right? She came to me one day and she was like, I think I'm pan. And I was like, yeah, let's go. I was like,
Let's
cool.
go.
And she was like,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
I
fuck
want to
yeah.
have, she was like, I don't feel completely feminine all the time. And I was like, well, what about she, they? She's like, yeah, I think I like that. So that was kind of where our
that's
experience
nice.
went. So it started as one that,
growth.
felt invalidating initially, but yeah, the growth that you can kind of experience with a partner. And I get it a lot, right? You're a boy, you're in a het relationship, right? You're in a het coded relationship. You can't be bisexual. You're not actually bisexual. And it's just, again, it kind of stems from that thing, like nobody else gets to decide what you are except you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody else gets to decide that for you. Only
Yep.
you. But yeah, that's kind
Absolutely.
of my experience with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that ties in with something I wanted to talk about was like, just like relationships in general and how your identity can impact whether, if you're in a long-term one and how your dynamic can change over time as your identity changes, or, how you can still feel like I think especially this was a big topic on the last one, where we focused really heavily on like long-term relationships and, the assumption that you've picked a side, like you said. But also I think, seeking relationships and stuff. So I would love to hear like if anybody's got more like relationship focused experiences they want to share.
A lot of like strictly gay men are incredibly biphobic. Like they will just
Yeah.
absolutely not
Yeah.
talk to you at all if you are bisexual because they're like
Mm.
they think like interacting with like women sexually at all is like gross, which is just like misogyny. Like you're just being
Yes.
Yeah.
misogynistic, and
Yeah.
it's like
Yep.
really unfortunate that a lot of people do think that way. And I think that it's not fair to anyone, but I know that like my ex was actually non-binary, but like a little bit more feminine leaning and presenting, and I, talked about liking men a lot more than I did talk about liking women. It's mostly just because I objectify men as a joke. But like but no, we had a conversation at one point where they were like, you never talk about being attracted to people who look like me, and that makes me feel really sad. And so it was one of those things where like, I didn't even realize that like that was something that bothered them, and that was one of the only few times we had like a good conversation about anything. But it
Oh my
it's
God.
sort of like, I think that like me expressing that was like, I don't, because they were bisexual too, and so it was a really interesting thing to like, I don't know, sort of like learn about myself in the way that like my bisexuality and attraction interacts with like my partners, and sometimes there's just like things that you don't even really like notice or think about. And I think that conversations like this, panels like this, having conversations with your partners is just such an absolutely important thing, because you might be accidentally invalidating somebody
Yes.
and not even realizing it. But like
Yeah.
if you don't
Yeah.
bring that up, nobody's ever gonna know. And
Yeah.
Communication is the most
yeah.
important aspect.
Yeah.
Of that, you
Absolutely.
have to be able to communicate effectively, and it's valid. Feeling disaffected in that capacity, right? And to feel
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
all you ever do is talk about how attracted you are to masc presenting people, but not femme
Yeah.
presenting people. Like it's a valid thing to be disaffected by, but you have to be able to
Yeah.
communicate it effectively.
Yeah.
You can't just let that
Yeah.
boil over
Exactly.
No.
and let it
Yeah.
manifest in a toxic way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, for
True.
sure.
Relationships are about so much about like 50-50 communication. Like if you are not willing to communicate that issue with the person that you're like with, it becomes a real big problem. And it always, at least from what I've seen, I've only had like 2 relationships in my life, one for like 9 years, one for the past 6 months. And so I've personally watched friends like have problems with their partners and then never communicate it, despite me screaming, "Communicate, please!"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it always
Yeah.
ends up in like the relationship like ending really badly. And it's like, if you don't feel like comfortable or safe enough to talk to your partner about something like that, like you're gonna doom your relationship essentially, because like if it's just gonna eat at you forever, you know.
I think it
Yeah.
stems from
Exactly.
that kind of that cishet normative mindset to just not actively
Exactly.
meaningfully
Yeah.
engage with your
Yeah.
emotions, not talk about
Mhm.
things, because that's
Yeah.
gay, bro. You can't do that.
The
And then
old
even
ball
when
and
you are,
chain.
Yep.
yeah, even when you are gay,
Yeah.
bro, you don't want to talk about it either because you've kind of adopted some of those
Exactly.
Yeah.
those perspectives and just
Exactly.
kind of
Yep.
Yeah.
coded them into who you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I've had friendships like this is also kind of ties to the VTubing thing, where like as a VTuber I'm finally able to like kind of represent myself the way I wish I looked. I don't wish I looked like a little demon guy, but I wish I was more mask and stuff and like had a
Mm.
deeper voice or whatever. But like I and though I am talking about this because, like, for me, in my mind, relationships can also just be like friendships because friendships are a form of relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have met VTubers who like would see my model or see the art of that I was drawing, and they would treat me a certain way, based on like how I look. But then the second that they heard my voice or they like started to like get closer to me, they started treating me like more femininely, like more infantilization. Same thing goes with like when I would like talk about who I was attracted to, because I love me a fictional man and a fictional woman, but like I am very like man leaning, because that's just what it was normal for me for a while. And I love women though, and they would treat me weird or treat me differently compared to like who I was interested in.
The infantilization.
Oh no! Your camera!
The way that ended. The way that
Me when I experience LGBT phobia.
Yeah.
Me when biphobia.
I don't want to say it because he's not here, but the I agree with them. The infantilization aspect, right?
Yeah.
The you need to be taking care of your small uwu bean baby. Like, okay, like I'm a person. Don't treat me like a fucking doll. It's very.
I'm not your little yaoi boy. Like,
no, I'm not your little
don't do
yaoi
that.
twink femboy. Like,
I'm a man who
if I'm those
fucks
things,
men. Leave me alone.
Yes.
I'm a dude who fucks.
What's better than this? Just guys being dudes.
My dad was a fuck man. His dad was a fuck man.
For generations, this house has fucked men, and you will do the same.
Yeah.
I'd be proud.
we were just saying how your point was valid, and also how your PNG is really fucking funny.
So
Thank you. Infantilization of trans men, especially once people realize that they're trans men, is disgusting. If you realize trans people in your life, I will get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. The infantilization of trans men through the lens of just this bizarre, fucked up sentiment of, again, misogyny, right? Like this weird, obtuse form of misogyny that's kind of looped back around into, again, you're trying to redefine this gender binary, and you're doing it in the worst possible way. Just treat people with fucking respect. it's really that easy.
It costs $0 to not be an asshole.
Yeah,
true.
0.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you know what? Even here's a crisp 20.
Ooh.
There you go.
Oh boy, $20.
Rattle out the tip jar.
I super agree with you as someone watching from like the outside. It's so frustrating to like listen to somebody speak to somebody who's trans, and then all of a sudden a switch flips in their head and they goes, okay, now it's time to treat them like a baby. And it's like, it's so weird to watch. Like, why didn't you just decide? Like, it comes out of nowhere. Or like, especially
and
like,
the same thing happens to autistic people. What the fuck?
Yes.
Time.
Absolutely.
Yes. Exactly that. And it's
also
so,
disabled people. Like, I have an autoimmune disorder, and sometimes people treat me like I'm the most fragile like baby in the world. And I'm like, I know what my limits are, and I do not surpass those. Like, I'm good. You don't need to. You don't need to remind me to like do things.
Yeah.
Like, it feels really like it feels really gross.
I see that a lot in chat where they'll kind of be like, "Don't push yourself too hard. Don't delay." And it's like, this is not your place. We're grown adults. Like,
You're not my partner. You're not my mom. Like,
if you're not a close friend of mine, don't say that.
No.
I'm a grown ass man.
I appreciate the sentiment. I know they don't mean harm. It's also like not your place. You don't know me.
And it's frustrating because when it comes from that perspective, like, oh, take care of yourself. Oh, you're so brave. You're so small. Woo. But like when you actually need that validation, when you actually need that support, they're nowhere to be found. You know what I mean? They're not going to be there to back you up in a meaningful capacity. They're just like, oh wait, I actually have to like meaningfully invest beyond being.
I gotta
like,
care.
Yes, slay, bestie. Like no,
the
dude,
second
like,
you
boots the
become
house down, queen
to their
pussy
time,
boss.
they don't want to support you.
Yeah.
As soon as your disability actually disables you, and you need like any kind of like assistance or like anything, or like you can't hang out as much, or you can't offer them the same things that you used to offer them, and you even if you have a conversation about like redefining the terms of your friendship, because like I was recently within the past couple of years diagnosed, so it was like a lot of my friendships changed, and I lost a lot of people in my life, and it really fucking sucked.
I wanted to hear. I know, like Dingus, you're in a long-term relationship, and we haven't heard from you a lot. I was wondering if you had any, like, circling back to that, like, you know, relationship topic. If you had any like good insights for like, you know, communication and stuff with your partner, or even just experiences with, you know, identity and being in a relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have too much to say apart from feel good kind of things.
That's good too.
Like,
That's huge.
Yeah,
we need
so
positive
that's
stuff.
awesome.
Queer joy.
yeah,
Let's
exactly.
go.
Yeah, so growing up, I was kind of met a lot with whenever I would express like any kinds of feelings, even if I will admit sometimes they were a little, you know, out there. I was met with, you know, often you're being dramatic. So it got to the point where I was like, I don't know how to talk about things. So eventually when I got into a relationship with Kit, I decided I don't want to have a relationship like that. So when Kit first came out to me as bi, because when we first got together, it was before they realized that he's gender fluid and pansexual. At the time, he was coming to me and saying, I am bi. And I was like, yeah, no, that's cool. Like any relationship, realistically, you should be able to talk about anything. There shouldn't be ever a situation where you are afraid to, I mean, like you can, if you impose those on yourself, that's one thing, but no, you should have no like external reason to be afraid to talk about something with your partner, because that's not a healthy relationship at that point. So, you know, my partner told me that that they're bi, and then eventually decided that or realized that she was pan, and also that they were gender fluid. So, and if you hear me cycling through pronouns, that's how they prefer to prefer to be referred to as. So that's why I'm doing that.
Kid. I love Kid.
Yeah, I love Kit so much,
Kit.
believe it or not. But yeah, like so that, and then, you know, so there was kind of that thing where even when I was talking about my sexuality with them, it wasn't that I ever struggled. Like coming out to them was so easy. It was I think I literally like did it over a Snapchat. Like I put a picture that I happened to have some like reflective rainbow glasses in my car, and I was like, damn, I got the gay vision. But I'd be looking at dudes now. But like it was more the hard part for me was only overcoming and undoing a lot of the things that I had against myself growing up and that I repressed, that I still am working on to this day. But I think that one of the strongest forces that I can say is having a partner where I can discuss something like that openly. And you know, it was very much the kind of thing where, again, growing up, since I didn't have that myself, I wanted to be able to give that to somebody else. So communication is key, and no healthy relationship will ever have a situation where you feel like you can't talk about something because of how they might react, if it's a realistic assumption, because you know, we can sometimes like make assumptions of worst case scenarios, but like that shouldn't be the most likely reason. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I think hearing
That's
good
wonderful.
experiences is huge too, because it can be very scary, you know, when you're considering these things. And that's one thing I've heard from folks who have come to me, you know, is like, you know, I'm scared. I like learning these things about myself. I'm not sure, you know, and I don't know how to talk to people about it. And I feel like I'm taking up space by suddenly being queer when I was cis het before. And so I think, you know, hearing those positive stories is really inspiring and good to hear as well.
Yeah. And that's another thing where one of my friends pointed out, oh, I knew you were fruity. I'm like, what do you mean by that?
You've been known.
I was the last to know.
Nobody's gonna tell me.
Tell me.
It's really good to hear a positive side of that. I'm so happy to hear that, like, you know, you and your partner was such good communication, and that it was so positive. And it's funny because for me, it was kind of the opposite, and it's how I realized part of where my journey was taking me. And I remember being afraid to tell a partner and being nervous because of the things that she had said in the past and the way that she reacted. And she would say things like, "What are you, gay?" And like stuff like that. And when we had the conversation explaining who I was, and I watched her face or like, you know, her body language. And I realized in that conversation, like, you know, if I feel scared to tell this person something, and if this person reacts this way to me, then maybe this person shouldn't be my partner in the first place.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
for you to hear that and like, oh wow, I love my partner, that's amazing. Like, we communicate so well. To have the flip side thing be, oh wow, like this is not what I'm getting from my partner. I shouldn't be dating someone like this at all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's validating in
Very
itself,
true.
because it's understanding your own identity from your own perspective, right? And I think just even beyond queer relationships, I think a lot of people in general, especially cis het people, think a relationship will fix them and define themselves by a relationship, and that's not how it works. You need to be able to love yourself before you can be in a meaningful relationship with somebody else. And like you were talking about, Riri, like if this person isn't validating you, then maybe you don't need to be there. Maybe that's not maybe that's not working for you.
I also think that
breaking
maybe,
news:
like,
the straights are not okay.
God, no, they're not. Good fucking gracious.
no.
Dangerous in that camp.
I think a lot, especially in the gay community or queer community, a lot of people are afraid to end relationships because, like, for so long, like, people like media is like, oh, you have to like find a person and stay with them for the rest of your life, but I think, and also people are afraid to like mess up or lose somebody in their life. But if that person is harmful to you or to your identity, or like you're afraid to talk to them, like, you have good memories of that person, but currently that person isn't good for you. And like, if you don't feel healthy, safe, comfortable, like all of those things, or you're just like at a spot where you're unsure about a relationship, I think it's incredibly healthy and smart for you to end a relationship or go on a break or et cetera, because like I've stayed in a relationship for far too long when I realized I wasn't attracted to that person because I was afraid that I would never find another person that would want. And a long time I felt like a fraud because I was like, I don't like this person, is like, I have known them for so long, like we've been together for so long. I feel like they're more of a friend to me, but they've dedicated so much of their life to me because I dated my partner Bay from when I was 14 until last year, and it was like a long time, and I was afraid, like I wanted to break up with them because I was moving, and we had moved in together like way too early, and I was like, especially moving in with a person is the test of a relationship, because if you cannot deal with that person, I learned very quickly I don't like sharing my bed with somebody. I don't like sharing my space with somebody. I have to have my own space. And very quickly,
everyone has
I learned,
idiosyncrasies.
We weren't a good match. We had been together for nearly a decade. Like, we had changed so much as people, and I cherish those memories we have together, and I cherish like them as a person. But I could not stay in that relationship anymore, and I'm thankful that they're not broken off because I was too afraid to. But it's you really have to, one, do it for yourself, but also like sometimes think like if I'm not into this person, or this person is harmful to me, like, will they truly be happy in this relationship too? You have to put yourself first, but also take time to think, like, is this a good spot for me and for them? And like, there's no, you didn't fail a person if the relationship doesn't work out. You tried things out. Relationships are about trying things and learning stuff about yourself. There's no failure when it comes to relationship,
Exactly. And you got to ask yourself, are you in love with who they are or who they were?
Exactly.
So,
Oh, that's so huge.
If the answer is were, then
if fear is a motivator in that regard, then you've kind of already added to the question.
Absolutely.
Compromises are important. Like, they're going to happen in a relationship, but they shouldn't be made out of fear. And you also shouldn't sacrifice aspects of yourself that you value,
Absolutely.
Relationships are about being yourself and that person accepting who you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I think, like, one of those fears that can happen is the fear of like, okay, I had something and now I'm alone. And I'm back in the dating pool. And I think like being in the dating pool can be really scary when you're when you're bi and you're seeking out relationships for the first time. Especially when there's like a lot of stigma you can come across, especially like, like Riri you mentioned, and King you also mentioned, like stereotypes that come from folks towards bi people, like especially bi men. I know there's this stereotype left over from like homophobia from like the 90s, where
Yep.
straight women are often afraid to date bi men because, again, they just consider you to be gay men.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there's this leftover lingering fear from like the AIDS crisis, and
Yeah.
those negative stereotypes that impact gay men often impact you just as equally.
Yeah,
Right.
I still can't
Yeah.
get
For
blood
sure.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
scary, especially like when I entered back into the dating pool for the first time after what I had just mentioned. I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm gonna be myself. This is who I am. And then when you tell people that and they go, oh, or they go, well, and it makes you go for the
Yeah.
first, like when you start feeling that way, when it happened the first time, I was like, damn, like am I like lovable? It was
Aw.
scary.
Yeah.
It's a
That's
scary moment to
Yeah.
feel like, well, now that I'm finally being myself, is myself not lovable? It was scary for sure.
Yeah.
Should I
Exactly,
keep
yeah.
this
Yeah.
part of myself secret? And absolutely
Yeah.
not. You shouldn't, but it makes you feel that way. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
It does make you
exactly.
feel that way,
Invalidated.
yeah.
And again, I hate to keep harping on this, but it comes
Mhm.
from that, it comes from that misogynistic mindset
Absolutely.
that is normalized in our
Exactly.
society, and it's just reinforced in that capacity, which is why, again, having conversations like this are so important
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
break those stereotypes and deviate from them.
I also think that
Exactly.
like as a community, and maybe this comes from like my cultural perspective, being indigenous, but like as a community and people who are together in a community, you have a responsibility to each other to unlearn these harmful things that you know get perpetuated because like I don't know, the most important thing is us and each other and that people are safe and that people are happy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you have these like ideas of like, this biphobia or like whatever, because I remember back in the like Tumblr days, I was like very jaded because people were very biphobic and it like
Yep.
made me really
Yes.
mad.
Mhm.
And I would just fight with
Tumblr
people
sucked.
online. Oh yeah, like
Oh,
all
Yeah.
the time. And it sucked so bad and I hated it and it felt bad and I never felt better after an argument. And so I decided, I was like, when I see people, because like that can like spread from person to person. It's like
Yeah.
like a sickness, like a plague, and it is our responsibility to each other to take that and heal ourselves from that and be better people for the people around us so that we can
Mhm.
walk
Exactly.
together as a
Absolutely.
community and
Yeah.
help each other as a community instead of like
Wholeheartedly agree,
infighting,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
like it feels bad.
Yeah,
It was
the
bad,
infighting
man.
is rough.
In topic
Support
of that,
your
like,
fellow buys. Yeah.
Yes, that's what today's all
Yeah.
about. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. in topic of that, like
Mm.
this kind of goes back to the thing I wanted to talk about earlier with like it is so ingrained in our society to try to set a norm for a thing, like a norm for women,
Yes.
men, not like with how our society is and how ingrained it is in our brains, like control, like normal, like all these kinds of things. Like that's why
Mhm.
you'll see people at the woodwork say like heinous shit to bisexuals, trans women, because especially like your trans men, like you have to be like this. It's like the idea of control, the idea of well, every society has a normal thing. You have to be normal. You have to be this, and it's like it plays into that just like harmful shit. Like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
it's awful. It's downright awful.
And
Sorry,
and
my
the queer
brain's
community is
not
not immune to that either. Like,
No.
No,
It's not.
I think a lot
We've
of
been
people
raised in a
think.
society that like just has that, so our brains
Yeah.
are like, oh,
Yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, so you hide behind some like labels and think that allows you to police other labels.
Yeah.
They'll
Right.
sometimes lean on their identities to make them free from critique. That kind of ties back to that feeling of isolation when
Yeah.
you are bi, is that like, straight people, you're not straight enough there. And pride can be a very rough time for us instead of a time of
Yeah.
celebration.
yeah,
Yeah.
So and I think, like that's why I wanted to hold this and why at the beginning of the month when I started seeing all the, the tweet going around and I don't know, this month felt really, really rough. I don't know if
Yeah.
did you guys feel that
Yeah.
too?
A little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It
there's a
didn't
lot
feel like
of
pride. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like
I think there's a
pride.
lot of unfounded
Mm.
hostility, or not unfounded, but a lot of misplaced hostility. I think people are
Yeah.
scared. People are angry, and there's a lot of valid reasons why that's the case.
Yeah.
If you're logging on to harm the people that are a part of your group, who are being subjected to the same things that you're scared of, you kind of lost the plot. And I think you need to take a step back and understand why you might be doing those things. Have that conversation with yourself. I think a lack of self-interrogation is why a lot of these things happen. I think, it's how I undid a lot of my toxic behavior, and it's how I realized I was bi, self-interrogation.
Exactly.
So, I think you need to be able to take a step back and do that. Because if you're not supporting, if you're not just supporting people in general, but if you're especially not supporting your fellow queers, then I don't know, man. What the fuck are you doing? Especially during Pride? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. We're a community. You need to heal yourself and that drive and that desire to be a better person for all the people around you is like so important. And I think a lot of people don't like inherently feel that, and it's something that they have to learn and figure out because it doesn't feel good. Fighting people online does not feel good.
No.
If you are somebody out there who does that all the time and you wonder why you are so sad all the time,
it's exhausting.
I'm gonna tell you right fucking now, that's probably it.
That's why.
Call me out like this, kid.
That's why.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it like that.
That's why you're so.
I don't know if I might be one of the oldest ones here, but I was forged in the fires of website that will not be named. You know what I mean? And I spent a lot of time making myself fucking miserable there, right? And for a lot of folks, they kind of do the same thing on Twitter. They do it on fucking Reddit and like
TikTok.
I need you to understand TikTok. I need you to understand you're not doing anything meaningful for yourself.
No,
you are making yourself fucking miserable. Just you are not going to change somebody's mind on fucking Twitter. You're just fucking not. You're really not. And you're better off just moving beyond and making yourself happy and trying to support yourself. You know what I mean? Just trying to make sure that you have a supportive community around you and making sure that you are being a supportive person for those around you.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing. Don't get lost in those arguments.
Exactly.
A lot of
those
people
divisions
talk
are what
about
the patriarchy wants. So
Exactly.
fighting is what's going to
Absolutely.
I used to be somebody like a year ago. I used to get into a ton of like Twitter arguments because I was like, my autistic sense of justice was like, I'm doing good, but I'm like, no, I'm doing harm to myself. Because I would go in circles with these people. They're not learning nothing. These people don't want to unlearn their hate. They don't want to learn tolerance. They just want to keep their hate because that's all they know and it's all they are. They're okay with it. They don't care that they're harming people. They don't have empathy towards people that aren't them. There's like, I think you can educate like your parents, your grandparents, older generations. You can't argue with balls deep 420 on Twitter about
Hey, you leave my alt account out of this. Okay? You leave my spam account out of this. Nothing to do with that, all right?
You cannot argue with slur slinger 59. You just can't. You are not going to change that person's name. Yeah, you have to. Somebody has to be able to want to learn in order for you to be able to reach them, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you want to learn, you will seek out that education yourself. You know?
Like I think that you can like change some things or like protect people, but like at the end of the day, like an argument on Twitter is not changing a person. You can't change a person's mind, and you're just doing more harm at the end of the day.
Balls deep
That's what I mean by
unfortunately.
Slur slinger got him. Fuck.
Damn.
That's what I mean by putting it out there, right? You put out that positivity, right? You put out that reinforcement. You support, your fellow queers and reinforce that you will have a safe space for them.
Exactly.
Let them know that information, but don't get lost in the sauce of arguing with a bigot who has no intention of meaningfully.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because they're wasting your time. They're trying to waste your emotional stamina deliberately. So don't let them get away with it. You got better things.
Exactly.
And
that's how we grow and learn. We learn how to do that. We learn better ways to do that. I'm loud on Twitter. Moon knows I'm loud on Twitter.
Yeah, you
are. I'm less.
You're also
argumentative
younger than a lot of us on the panel. So I think with age,
I'm like 24-ish. So it's like
I'm
I'm very
32
young. I still have
now.
like a lot to learn. I
Yeah.
have a lot to learn, so it's like
Yeah, and I've been
it's
there.
I'm
to learn
20 something.
through- 20-something. I'm
Yeah.
okay with saying
Wait.
I do act very young and like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I what is it? When do our our frontal lobes finish
25.
developing? 25? You're close.
Like 25.
You're close there.
25?
Did you know that if you have PTSD or
Oh,
trauma
I'm
or
cooked.
anything like that, it can extend that age to like in
Really?
vitro?
Fuck.
Yeah.
I feel I thought I was
Oh,
cooked.
shit.
Nah, we still cooking.
If I'm being honest, I hope
We
so.
gotta
I
go
hope
back
this
into the
isn't my
kitchen.
final form.
Turn the oven back on.
I didn't know that it
33
was.
and I still feel like second stage cell some days. I'm like, what's going on, man? When do I hit perfection? When does that happen? Huh.
I had no clue it was 25. So hearing that it's 25 for the first time, it's like
Wow.
being
Okay.
halfway done with a test, and then the teacher goes, "All right, well, everyone go to the front." I'm like, "Oh no, oh no, I thought I was good." Well, thank God. Whew.
Riri just wrote his fucking name. That's it.
I wrote my name. I answered one question and I got it wrong. And she's like, "All right, guys, stand them up."
Now,
Oh
now
my
he's doodling
God.
dicks on the fucking paper, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're running out of time."
Scraping them into
I've
the
doodled
desk.
Plenty of penises.
I
We're
think,
still
you know,
cooking.
like experience and age, but also, you know, like it is a struggle when you're autistic to fight the
Yeah.
urge to want to ream people, you know,
The
but
sense
I
of justice.
yeah,
Sense of justice. I like
Exactly.
that. The autistic sense
Yeah.
of justice, the way you described it,
Absolutely.
because that's really
That's what
it
it's
is.
called.
I-
I think that's the
Yeah.
term
It
for
is,
it.
yeah.
It's a term, yeah.
Autistic people
Interest,
It really
typically
is.
have a
justice.
tendency towards being more driven towards having a justice shaped sentiment towards the world. right?
Yeah.
So we struggle to like let things go and
yeah,
not fucking fixate on it, not
yeah,
Yeah.
prove our point to
Yeah,
somebody,
my
make
shit,
sure that
leave me
they
alone,
understand
that's
why we're right. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Exactly.
it's you
Uh,
gotta learn that they don't want to understand. They're just there
They don't
to
care.
fight.
Yeah.
It's
No.
such a like a learning thing. Like
They're just there for
Yeah.
blood.
At least I see a higher percentage of it in the queer community. Maybe it's just because we're more used to challenging norms and like, you
Yeah.
know, learning about ourselves
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
As I was looking on that journal, I found a paper about like a connection between autism and bisexuality, and there being a higher link and higher chance of, you know, when you're autistic, kind of maybe going, well, gender doesn't matter, so I'm attracted, you know, like that doesn't matter, like and that goes with a lot of things, right? Like just challenging norms.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if like anybody
Yeah.
wants to speak on like, you know, neurodivergency and how you think that might have like impacted you and your identity.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, genuinely, I think it started because, like I had echoed before, I was told that you are neurotypical, you are cis, and you are heterosexual, and that's it, the end. And when you go through your life like that, and I'm like, wow, I'm whatever the quote unquote normal is, or whatever the rule book is for being those things, I would look at myself and I go, wow, Riri, you're kind of ass at all those things. Whatever that's supposed to be.
That's so real.
Yeah.
Just being a bunch
think-
of things that like people
Mm.
don't think exist. Like my family has had a hard time like coming to terms with the fact that I have like autism and ADHD. Not so much the
Yeah.
bisexuality. They're just kind of like okay with it, but like they're definitely the kind of people that are like, oh, that stuff isn't real. And so like like
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Hard.
that's why they're like, oh, you're like, this is our like gay relative, and I'm like, well, like, but they mean it like gay, like gay, and I'm like, well,
Right.
but
Well,
Yeah.
Derogatory.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
That's not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
it's-
that's
oh,
that's
that's
not.
not-
oh, in the sense that but yeah, having people like tell you that like these things that you are that are like change so much about the way that you interact with the world are just it, like they're like, oh, that's not real, like that. And it's the reason for it. Did you know that autism is hereditary? And so my family
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
like all of this stuff that I did as a kid that were signs was stuff that everybody did. And so like I
Yeah.
remember my grandma one time being like, oh, well, your cousins, like, you know, so and so and so and so, like they both did this like when they were kids, and you know, they don't have anything. And I was like, If those two don't have
Yes, they do.
autism, then I'm straight. Oh my god. It was so I used to chew holes through the middle of cardboard books. Like it was rough out here.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
That's good on the team.
That
You were
oral
destined to be a
stimming.
bird.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my god!
That was number one on the list.
Ain't no way.
That's the lore right there.
Yeah. That's
Ain't
the
no
lore, yeah.
way.
Lore video. Right up. We got it.
Yeah, I got it. I'll start commissioning that right away.
And collecting little trinkets. It's just
Yeah.
crow things,
Yeah.
just neurodivergent things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, I totally get that. I mean, I think that it's something I've heard before, and I've had it echoed to me, right? Is to like, oh, that's not real or whatever. I've had, for example, my dad, when I told him those things, I talked about like, oh, being autistic or being pansexual or my pronouns, and he said, I think my favorite thing my dad's ever said was, yeah, man, that's cool and all, but my mind is too strong for that stuff, so that couldn't be me. What?
My brain too wrinkly.
What does that
My
even
brain's a
mean?
muscle and it's ripped.
While you were out looking at boys, I was studying the blade. Like, shut the fuck up.
It was
Yeah.
so like surreal. I couldn't even. There was no words that could come out. He was like, "Yeah, me and my intelligent mind know better." He supports me in the sense, like, "Oh yeah, like my son is this, right?" Like he's supportive, but he's still like, "Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if he had studied harder, he wouldn't be."
Yeah.
He was not into them books and not them video games. Maybe the autism wouldn't have grabbed you.
I don't know. I saw that, you saw Cloud back when I was a kid. And I don't know. Maybe that, I don't know. There might have
Don't
been
talk about Cloud. It's gonna get. It'll turn into the free cast for real. Please don't bring that up.
like I said,
No,
that's
that's
Devil May
so
Cry. I
real.
don't know. Maybe he's cooking. I don't know. This
Yeah.
slash. Hey, this is a joke. This is a joke. Yeah.
I think for me growing up personally, so for context, I realized I was autistic like a couple years ago, which is surprising because I was the weird fucking kid growing up. All right,
Yeah.
I didn't really have a lot of friends. I couldn't mask very well. Also, King mentioned like chewing through books.
Oh yeah.
I would gnaw the hands and feet off my Barbie dolls.
Let's
I would gnaw
go.
the
Yes!
Polly Pockets.
Yeah.
Chewing on
like,
Polly Pocket clothes.
Yeah.
It was incredibly hard for me as a kid to make friends with any gender, girls, boys, but I oftentimes found myself gravitating towards boys because a lot of I think it for a while, like especially when I was a kid, like more boys got diagnosed with autism and stuff, so I felt like I just gravitated more towards them, and I think that kind of it didn't I think I was gonna be bisexual no matter what, but I do think that my perception of people instead of because gender doesn't matter really. I feel like a lot of autistic people disconnect from gender and more so focus on the person inside.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
because a lot of us at least for me, sometimes I'll see people put on fake personalities to go on dates and stuff, and it's it scares me because it's you need to be yourself.
Yeah.
I'm autistic. I need you to be 100% with me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
it's-
What if you got to hide?
Yeah.
I am not
Yeah.
equipped genuinely. I do not have the tools to suss out what it is that you're pretending.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't. That can't be a fun surprise for later. I need to know now.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
and growing up, my I have a lot of stepbrothers. I'm my mother's only child, but I have a lot of stepbrothers. A lot of my brothers were autistic. My bio dad's autistic. My grandfather was autistic. Listen, my he's my stepdad, but I still link his autism to mine for some reason. He has had so many hype fixations on RC cars, racing games. That man has a car hyperfixation.
Yeah.
And
Man.
and my also same thing with my grandfather. He had a car and vehicle hyperfixation too. You can kind of link the autism back a little. You can link the tism.
Yeah.
But I
A
do.
lot
I
of
think
times if it's
everybody's brain is wired differently.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
if the hobby was normalized enough, if you were hyperfixated on it, then nobody would clock that. They would just be like, oh, that's just
Right.
a guy thing to be interested
You're just a
in
guy
cars.
in the cars.
Yeah.
Right.
What's better than this?
That dude just loves
Yeah.
football. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
It was only when I was into, furry animals kissing each other that it was like, okay, that's
Yeah, it's a
that's
problem.
When I was into
something to
Homestuck.
be interested in. I don't know. How's that
God
different from
forbid a man
cars?
have a
Same
little
thing.
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That kind of ties back with like masculinity too. Really curious, like how you maybe preserve your masculinity or are comfortable in your masculinity, and how you can kind of clap back to people who would like challenge that just because you're, bi.
I think so it's kind of one of those things where I heard a lot growing up that I had like a very soft face, right? I didn't exactly have like I'm not exactly burly, as I would say, or at least I'm not hairy. So, I kind of struggled a little bit growing up with hearing like, oh, you're a pretty boy, you don't exactly embody, the ideals of masculinity. But at some point, I kind of, out of spite and nothing else, said, fuck you, I get to define what masculinity is, and I'm going to be the shining example of what it should be. So that's why, and at this point, I don't think people kind of will just stand in front of me, and I don't think anyone would probably say some shit to me at this point. But like I'm kind of usually bigger than most people. But it's like I just simply decided fuck what anyone else thinks, because nobody knows me like I know me. I get to define my perception of myself, and in the way that I choose to, in the same way I don't invalidate it for anybody else. Yeah. And I know it sounds kind of like not the most productive to just be like, I simply decide that it is what I say it is. But that's kind of the thing with any sort of label as well. It's just that you define what it is to you, and no one else can tell you otherwise, especially when they're arbitrary things like masculinity and femininity, gender identity and stuff like that. It's like, these are labels, but you are what you define and you feel is right, and no one can tell you otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And spite is a powerful motivator. Damn
Yes.
right.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say it if you didn't. I was gonna say I love that, because spite is a huge motivator for me. I love spite. Spite has gotten me to this point for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think I like your sentiment, because I think building on it, it might be, it might sound kind of like reductive to be like, oh, just do the thing, right? Just I choose it to be this way, so I'm going to make it this way. But that really is what it is, to have that confidence in yourself, in the identity that you have created for yourself, that what I choose to do, the things I do, that I am the boy wife, you know what I mean? That is masculine. There is a sentiment of masculinity in that for me, because I'm the only one who gets to define it. And I think by us having our own terms by which we define masculinity and femininity, it undermines the heteronormative, misogynistic descriptors that have kind of shaped them, right? We need to undermine what society has prescribed. And it's why it's so frustrating when somebody does the thing like, oh, wow, you're such a twink, and you don't identify that way. Like, no, just, you need to respect my identity. You need to respect my identity. Yep. Like, for me, I like being a femboy boy wife, and that makes me feel masculine. But that's not how it works for everybody. So you get to choose what it is for yourself. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
That's so real.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what happened to me to some degree. I think I wound up taking in a different direction. When you get told you're this, this is what it's supposed to be. I reached a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not anything. Whatever it is that I'm supposed to be, or whatever norm I'm supposed to have based on any gender, whatever those norms are, I don't want any of those things. And then I just kind of wound up telling myself, you know what? I'm all of it. And because that's what felt genuinely good to me, and it made me happy, because it's so exhausting to have to be whatever that is, or feel like you have to be that way,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if I may tie it back to something else real quick, is that not to bring up my own past with it, but as someone who grew up in the church, my experience was you were constantly told that you were never good enough, that you would not be able to measure up to this ideal that you were supposed to be. Yeah. So it's kind of treating it in the same way, where it's like, once I've shed that idea of what the alleged definition of masculinity was, it was kind of similar to shedding my former beliefs, and basically in alignment with what the Satanic Temple would say, becoming my own god. So and it's the same thing for everybody else.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the
Um,
territory of religion, but I do love the sentiment of being the beast I worship. That's my vibe.
Yeah.
yeah.
And not even in a
True.
narcissistic way, just in a
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you
No.
respect yourself
No.
and those
Yeah.
around you kind of way.
Yeah.
I believe in the me
Absolutely.
who believes in myself. That's my
Exactly.
vibe.
bar.
There you go.
It's a bar.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Um,
maybe I could like
Mm.
provide like somewhat of a unique experience on this because I think like
Mm.
again like being indigenous like we have different ideas about this sort of thing and I think if you've been in the queer community especially online long enough you've probably heard the term two-spirit before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think a lot
Yeah.
of people think of it as a like specifically like a gender identity when that is not always the case. It is sort of like an umbrella term for a bunch of like various different roles both like physically and spiritually within like indigenous communities and I sort of think like the way that um my like people specifically felt about like gender roles and things like that. I mean, it definitely has changed because of forced assimilation and like I said, like my Lakota family is like very Catholic and
Mhm.
so like those ideas of like what it means to be a man or like what it means to be a woman like aren't necessarily traditionally the same as they are in Western society. And you know, like
Mm.
two-spirit could be someone who is like gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender. Like it is specific to each community and it is also specific to each person because you know you have a spirit inside of you and when you are two-spirit it means that you have a masculine spirit and a feminine spirit. So like if a man loves other men it's like oh well it's because you know he has a feminine spirit and you need those
Sure.
you need both aspects of masculinity and femininity to balance each other out and to be able to like have a proper community. And so I think like for me recognizing that the way that masculinity and femininity has been defined by Western society and this forced assimilation is
Yeah.
not how my people necessarily did things traditionally. And then it makes me feel more okay with being who I am because, you know, it like pre-colonial times, like I would have been embraced by my community and because a lot of people were you know spiritual leaders or they were allowed to do certain things that other people weren't because of you know this like reflection of their spirit as you know being gay or bisexual or transgender in Western terms. And so I think that like just reminding myself that I don't have to be the way that like you know white people made us
Yes.
be
Mhm.
and
Yes.
like
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
Absolutely.
like it has made me feel like way more comfortable being like more feminine or you know just existing the way that I am and just being like yes I'm a man and like I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
That's
so
amazing.
awesome.
I love
I really
that.
like that. I like how
Yeah.
you connect it to your identity
Yeah.
and your culture.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
your
really
culture,
wonderful.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's like you've been saying, Slug, too, with like, you know, it's like all of the, you know, homophobia, biphobia, gender roles, all of that ties so much into like Western, like a lot of times, you know, like white, you know, nonsense.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's just the
Like,
white
yeah.
supremacist,
White
misogynistic,
supremacist, yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
The white
mindset
patriarchy.
that dominates.
Yeah.
I like you said Western culture, and that kind of sums it up pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
It
said
really
it
does.
very well too. The way white
Yeah.
people impose this on other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Western
very much
colonial
what it is.
specifically, but yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Western
there are
colonial.
over
Yeah.
like there are over 570 federally and state recognized tribes and even more in that aren't recognized and are fighting for recognition and that's just in the United
wow.
States.
Yep.
So like
Mhm.
there are tons of like indigenous identities that fall under the two-spirit umbrella and a lot of people are like doing a lot of good work like both elders and young people to sort of like unpack that and return our society to those like traditions that we lost because you know when you come out as gay or trans or bi or whatever it may be and you get rejected by your community like not even just your family but your community like entirely that connection to your culture for us is so important that it can be like the most terrifying thing in the world to lose that. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
back in the day, we would have been embraced for who we are and our gifts and abilities and the things that we can share with the world. But unfortunately, because of assimilation, like a lot of times
Yeah.
people get the two people who made uh gay marriage legal or fought to get gay marriage legalized on my tribe's reservation actually got chased off the res for being lesbians. And
Oh
like
my
people were
God.
like threatening their lives, and they had children, and they were like, we can't stay here. And
Yeah.
that it was so sad and depressing. But you know,
Yeah.
those two and a lot of other people, and hopefully like I can try to my best to you know, help at least maybe my family and my relatives unpack that homophobia that has been instilled in them.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think
yeah.
living, I think something I say to in my chat a lot, especially for, you know, people who are dealing with a very new aspect of their queer identity. Being who you are and living unapologetically is a form of protest. And I
Absolutely.
think
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you persisting in that way and reclaiming that part of your culture and your identity and doing so unapologetically is very much a form of protest, and it's
Absolutely.
very awe-inspiring
Fully agree.
Exactly.
for me.
Yeah.
I'm I know we just met, but I'm very I'm kind of a little bit stunned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm really glad that we have like
Yeah.
indigenous voices, especially on this panel today, because so many indigenous people get talked over or like snuffed out or like
Yeah.
just not taken
Right.
seriously.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
it's I think it's really really cool to get that perspective on different
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you for letting me yap. Like, thanks for letting me.
Yeah,
No,
Looking
I'm
forward to
so
that.
Thank you for
appreciative
doing
of your
it.
perspective for real, and I'm really glad
Yeah.
you're able to come today.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would it be okay for I want to talk about like my 'cause as a AFAB trans person who does not present masculine at all?
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
why I wanted you on here. You know, because masculinity is a complicated notion, and you know, I wanted your perspective on that as well.
I only present masculine online because I'm just not in the space to transition, and I'm not sure if I ever will really be because I feel like that would most likely result in me cutting off my family, so I don't think they would understand. But I'm a plus size AFAB trans person, which the plus size part kind of like because the like ideal like male body like like view like for society, especially like Western society, is like a buff skinny guy or like twinks or whatever, which is why like I my VTuber's a twink because like
Yeah.
no part of my body really like in my mind and said like it makes me feel masculine, which is why like I became a VTuber. VTubing is super important to me because I am able to see a version of myself. Because I shit you not, my VTuber is just a twinkified demon version of me, which stemmed from a Resident Evil Village self-insert. I had this hair color at one point. And so like
Ooh.
VTubing is important to me because I can look like this and be this, but like in real life, like it's really hard to feel masculine because every part of me is feminine. Like my parents use she her with me. I'm constantly called daughter, sister, etc. And so masculinity is a really hard thing with me to like kind of deal with because it's like at no point do I really ever feel masculine, you know? I'm not even allowed to wear binders in my house. My mom's like, "That's bad for you. You can't wear that." Like, it's very much like but it's like, it's really hard to feel masculine when every part of you, society says is feminine. Like my voice, the way that I look, my face shape, my body. It's like it's rough. But like one way I've been able to like kind of try to embrace that is like being a VTuber and drawing myself in a way that I wish I could look, you know, and like. I'm so glad that we got to hear like King's perspective because I genuinely feel like Western society's like standards of femininity and masculinity is so suffocating because like
Yeah.
I collect
It is.
dolls and I like to paint my fingernails and wear makeup, but like no point of that is masculine. But I'm so happy that like Western culture has started to kind of like I love seeing men paint their nails, like wear long nails, like wear makeup,
Yeah.
do feminine things. It
Mhm.
makes me so happy, like because it's like everything that I like, other men are starting to like, and it makes me really happy because it's like I'm starting to feel a bit more not feminine, you know.
Absolutely.
I think
It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think undermining the norms that have been prescribed to us are so important because,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
I paint my nails, I wear makeup, I do all sorts of feminine stuff, things that are considered feminine. And
Consider feminine, yeah.
Yeah.
right, and I've had a lot of people prescribe transgenderism to me before, which is a really fucked up weird thing to do. Again,
It's
don't
so
apply labels to
weird.
people.
Super.
Yeah.
I'm a femboy, but I am not trans, and I am a boy.
Yeah.
I am male.
Yeah.
And I think it's a big part of why I like doing those things because they may be traditionally feminine, but I am a masculine person, and I do them in a masculine way. That's the way I look at it. So, I very much agree with the sentiment that you're conveying, and that reclaiming aspects about those things and making them our own, not through the lens of how society has defined them, but for ourselves. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's so huge, and something that I think a lot of folks struggle with too. Is like, am I like encroaching on like queer space if I start doing feminine things as like a cis man or whatever? And it's like,
Yeah.
no. If anything, this helps everybody like to just
Normalize it.
let go of that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Right.
paint your nails, have fun.
Make it normal to do these things that have been considered abnormal. Yeah. For your pain. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you're straight or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you straight and stuff, you know.
Yeah, because you're straight and stuff. Yeah.
I got you this cake with no rainbows, you know, because you're straight and stuff.
Oh my god.
Yaps
Oh,
my little
man.
fingies together. Could I yap one more second?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Permission to
I had
granted.
I had this thought earlier when we were talking about like this year's Pride and how it didn't feel like Pride. I think we're seeing a really big like shift in like not the culture, but like in the people consuming the culture. I feel like there's a lot of young folks that are discovering their identities and stuff and hopping into it. Just no shame, no problem with that. But I think a lot of new people are starting to forget the fact that like Pride is still considered like a protest. It's like it's a celebration, but it's still a protest because we still have to fight every day to exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, they're forgetting that like this isn't just some funny little VIP club. This is still an active, ongoing protest. And I feel like a lot of younger gay people, gay, trans, bi, the whole alphabet, fucking, we're forgetting the fact that like where our history came from and who was fighting before us.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I am baffled by the amount of gay men that wear long nails that are so transphobic. It's like, my brother in Christ, do you know how many trans women fought for your fucking right to wear those goddamn nails?
The only
It's
reason you're allowed to be the cis gay man that can be transphobic is because of trans women. Trans women who died.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Literally.
Like, I put out like a button pack this year that like one that said like no LGB at the T, 'cause it's like so many like people want to erase trans people, bi people, and it's like you forget that there were so many of our elders in that fucking riot fighting for their fucking lives. And I it makes me so mad that like we don't have any kind of history being taught in schools. People have to go online and research and dig through years of buried history just to learn like what the culture is for gay people. It's frustrating because like there's just so much intolerance currently in the space.
Sure.
It's being suppressed deliberately. And it's why, kind of what I said earlier, it's why it needs to be taught. When they're actively trying to suppress it, that is the indicator that they don't want people to know about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because when and here's the thing, you can put out all the transphobic legislation in the world. You can try and erase queer identities all you want. We're not going anywhere. Trans people have always been
not going anywhere.
Queer people have always been here. So you can try and suppress the identities, but they will not go away. And it's why if you are a queer person, right? If you are a cis gay man and you are actively engaging in transphobia in that capacity, you've lost the plot because you need to be able to support those people who are part of your identity. Because the reality is, let's say they have their way, right? The transes have been erased, right? You're next, man. Like
Yeah,
they're not going to
next.
stop.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important to talk about these things and educate on these things, because this isn't new. They play the hits.
Yeah.
They love the hits. They don't do a new playbook. They do the same
No.
thing every single fucking time. So it's
Yeah.
important to just kind of be educated.
Right now, it's
and yeah,
gay
I like that
people or
sentiment.
trans people, like who
Right.
knows? It might be fucking
Yeah.
gay people,
Yeah.
again, bi
Yeah.
people.
Well,
Like
Well, it will.
could
And
be
if
any
they're
of
already
us.
coming
Yeah.
for gay folks.
Yeah.
They've focused on trans folks in a lot of the rhetoric that they're utilizing right now, but they're already starting to come for gay people. You're already
Yeah.
starting to see a shift from like, yeah, I don't like the transes, and now that's established as acceptable rhetoric by a lot of them. They're like, and actually, now that we're on the subject, I'm not really, I'm not really
it's
okay.
not
with
Not
all
really
that.
feeling those
Yeah.
homosexuals
Yeah.
either.
Now
Exactly.
that I think about
Conservatives
it,
consider you an ally until you're the target.
Right.
I
Yeah,
have
exactly.
quite literally seen. So, you talk about like no LGB without the T. Those
Yeah.
next steps are already happening. I have seen on Twitter people with handles that are LG and then a scissors emoji and then BT.
hell no.
So they're
Oh,
also
hell
cutting
no.
bisexuals
Cars
out
and
now.
fucking
We
like
are
that.
next on the chopping block,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's this idea that like they start with the easiest target to
The most vulnerable.
the most vulnerable, and then they eat their way down, and that's why it's so hard to see the infighting with. It's why I'm doing this, right? It's like we gotta stop infighting with queer community because
Exactly.
we need each other so desperately right now. We need to be building each other up
We can't
instead
afford
of petty fights.
to be
No.
going after each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
A good, strong
over arbitrary
community.
terminology or
Shit
some
like that.
aspect, whatever
Or just
the fucking
Ouroboros
drama of the
ourselves.
day is.
Yep.
Yeah.
A good, strong, healthy community. Oh, I think my thing died again. Whatever. A good, strong, healthy community like protects those of them that are the most vulnerable. We do
Absolutely.
not, reject
Mhm.
them. We do not like submit them to the leopards eating our faces.
Yeah.
They are a part of who we are and a part of the fight, and they belong here just as much as anybody else.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Damn right.
Yep. You have to protect the most vulnerable among you because it is they will come for you. And if that shouldn't be the only reason that is the incentive, you should want to do it because it's the just thing to do,
Empathy should
right?
be a thing.
Yeah.
Empathy
that's-
should be
yeah.
your motivator, right? And as many of us here are autistic and we have that sense of justice, that is the motivator for me. But at the same time, it's just there's so many reasons to motivate you, so that if your takeaway ultimately is to ostracize people from a community that is meant to be accepting and inclusive, you need to do some introspection and some self-interrogation.
There's no tolerance for intolerance, truly.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
No.
especially not within our own fucking like safe little area, like
No.
if you're gonna be intolerant,
Yeah.
get the fuck out. Like don't
Yeah.
don't label yourself. I mean, label yourself. You can't not label yourself. Like don't fucking just don't be an ally. I don't know. I've lost the plot now. I've lost the plot.
No, it's crazy because it seems so like we shouldn't have to say these things. Like, doesn't it seem almost like this should
seems like common
just be
sense.
common sense? But it's not.
Yeah.
It's obviously not. And I think something that we talked about a little bit last stream, but Mari brought it up even more like off stream, was that there are bad actors. I think Mama, you mentioned in chat as well, people trying to like successfully cut asexuals out of the community.
Yep.
I'll like Slug, you've been talking about like how you used to have, harmful beliefs. I'll admit I was asephobic because of stupid Tumblr discourse back in the day.
Yep.
And like I had to unlearn that
I've
shit.
been phobic as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we've
think
all
we
been.
all.
I used to say biphobic shit to
It's
my
ignorance.
friends. I was
Yeah.
14 and I was like, I'm gay. I
Yeah.
wasn't like I used to say everybody like people will say harmful things and learn like, oh, this is bad. I shouldn't say that. Like that's just part of being a person and growing.
Yeah. Exactly.
The ignorance is something you need to be able to learn from, and it's something that it's why I bring it up on a regular basis. I like the I think you should leave sketch. I don't know if anybody else anybody.
I love
Heard
that
of the
show.
show. Yeah.
I love that
The-
show.
the-
Tacos.
the sloppy steak sketch. Yeah, the sloppy steak sketch is how I describe my time as, a bigoted individual. I used to be a piece of shit. I used to slop up my steaks. I used to be a piece of shit. I'm not anymore. But I recognize that I used to be a piece of shit. And I also recognize that people can change. And I think it's important to acknowledge the things that you used to do, to take accountability for the things you used to do and the things you used to say, because they are a part of how you got here, right?
Yeah,
and what you do going forward is what matters, right? It's not, you are an amalgamation of your experiences, but you are not beholden to who the person you used to be. You get to choose who you get to be today. But I think you should recognize where you came from. And I think it's important to try and help other people get to that point. Now, like we said earlier, they have to want to. They have to want to be able to extend beyond the person that they are in that moment. You know what I mean?
You need to want to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The internet also
but I
doesn't
think you
like
should
to-
always have that empathy if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The internet is also like a bad place for discourse in general, and they also
God.
like
Yes.
they will not
Social media
allow people.
specifically, good
Yeah,
God.
they will not allow people to learn and grow and hold themselves accountable. They will say, "Well, you said this thing one time
years ago.
that I didn't like, and so now you're evil forever." And it's like you should, if people keep doing the same shit over and over again, then kick them to the curb.
Yeah.
But if people have a genuine desire to be good people and they want to change for whatever community they're a part of, or just for the people around them, for the betterment of like society and themselves, like why don't we let people grow? Like why don't we let people change?
Help
Do you want
them
to
grow,
actually hold them accountable, or are you just out for blood? Like
Exactly.
what's going on here?
Are you just wanting to be angry? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree. It made the internet scary for me to have conversations, especially when I was going online for the first time. Like, okay, there's people like me here. And then you see discourse online and the infighting and the way we talk to each other sometimes. Again, not everybody, but some people, right? And I go, now it makes me, as somebody who's new to this space or new to this or et cetera, whenever I did come on for the first time and go, okay, I want to meet people like me. Then you look over it, then it makes you afraid to talk. It's like, well, if I say something because I don't know or I don't have any experience, am I cooked? Like, it makes you not want to be a part of it. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
If you say one wrong thing, is that it?
Exactly.
Am I
My
done?
career is over.
You're terrified to say anything because you don't want to say the one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nobody's
We've had
perfect.
countless examples in the community, like the VTuber community itself, where someone like is outed for being like harmful or having harmful ideas, and they get I think sometimes rightfully like dogpiled, and then but I think people can learn and become better people, like I feel like
I think intention is a big part, right?
VTubers
There's a difference between when someone doubles down and when someone goes, what? I fucked up. Let me try to
people will show you who they are.
Every time.
If you're seeing who they, it depends on it. You'll see a lot of it in how they behave as an individual now, right? And if that's brought out, right? Like you said this thing so many years ago. It's like, okay, I did, and I don't say those things anymore, and I haven't said those things in a long time, and I haven't said those things in a long time.
Yeah.
But if you, if it does come out and you see the way they behave on stream, and you're like, oh, okay, that's starting to put some pieces together. There you go. You know what I mean? It's
like,
you
you
gotta
think that.
months in a year.
You got to use some critical thought, and that's a big part of. And this is unfortunately something that is intentionally not taught. Speaking as a former teacher, I know it's not taught. Critical thought is not taught, because critical thought means that you can meaningfully engage with the world around you. You can actively choose to engage with propaganda that you're being fed, and it makes it really difficult to do so if you don't have the capacity to do it. So I think that's why people have a tendency to get on these hate trains and just dogpile that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think outrage for phobia is understandable, but also we have to remember that we are constantly growing as people. Our brains are constantly learning new stuff. You can't decide there's examples out there. I'm not gonna say names, but there are people who have continuously been terrible, never learned, et cetera, et cetera. And there are people who actively learned and came back and said, hey, I was an asshole. I've watched people that I used to be friends with who are terrible learn from their mistakes and be like, hey, I was a piece of shit, I'm so sorry. And it's you have this goes to anyone in chat too. If you've recently had any phobic ideas or opinions, and you're now realizing and you feel bad, that's the first step is feeling bad. You're on the right path. You can learn and be better.
I've seen
Start
chat
being
members turn
an
around.
ally.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Start being
We've
an
seen
ally.
it.
Start supporting people. Start doing everything you can. When you see somebody doing the same
Mhm.
things you used to do that you don't feel good about now, fucking call it out and
Yeah.
protect the people that
Exactly.
are vulnerable. Right. Because in a lot of ways, our identities make us vulnerable. So when you see somebody doing those things, make sure that you know that that person is safe and cared for and loved,
Right.
because it's
Exactly.
scary. Like all of us have been talking about. We've dealt with scary experiences. It's
Yeah.
scary to be yourself. It's important to be yourself, but it's also
Yeah.
very scary to do it.
It's
Yeah,
scary.
and the best time to start is now.
Yeah.
To be better.
Yeah.
Also,
Absolutely.
if I may throw one more thing out there,
Yeah.
I think one thing that we tend to do, especially with internet discourse, is we tend to focus less on the person who's being hurt and more on getting back at the
Yes.
person who's
True.
doing the hurting.
Yes.
So make sure
Yeah.
that those who are hurt
Mhm.
first are taken care of first
Yeah.
before
Absolutely.
you try to dogpile, because dogpiling might not
Exactly.
amount to anything, but you can at least help the person who's hurting. So
Yeah.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
your vindication means nothing if it doesn't actually mount in a meaningful way, which is
Yep.
kind of what we were
exactly,
talking about earlier.
perfectly said.
Mhm.
If you're gonna, you're all for here to do the bottom and top bullshit. But if you're not here to
Yeah.
actually support
Yeah.
somebody who's being targeted when it matters, then you're
Yeah.
not an actual ally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
On that note, if a certain, like, a minority of people, like, if a person was hurt and that person apologizes, it is not your job, if you're not part of that group of people, to accept the apology. The only people
Yes.
that give that
Yes,
apology
that is
Oh
very
my
true.
god.
and give that
Mhm.
person the
Mhm.
forgiveness is, I've seen people come out for being transphobic and be like, I'm so sorry, and their entire community of people that are of the same mindset will be like, forgive you, king, we forgive you, queen. It is not your job
Right.
to forgive that person.
not your
That
place.
apology means nothing
Yeah.
if that group of people do not accept it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, or
Right.
not even like, oh, like, we forgive you. Sometimes they'll be like, you shouldn't have been mobbed
nothing
in the
to
first place. You did nothing
apologize.
wrong.
Right.
When it's like, you
Ugh.
shouldn't, if someone comes out and apologizes, that is a reflection of their desire to be a better person. And
Yeah.
by
Right.
saying,
Mhm.
hey, you should have never been called out in the first place, you are undermining their growth and,
Right.
and their
Exactly.
decisions to be better.
You're
And-
just simply enabling whatever bad behavior they
Yeah.
did, which
Yeah.
says more about
Exactly.
you in a lot of ways. You
Oh,
need to have
absolutely.
an honest conversation with yourself.
Maybe you should look
and-
at them apologizing and be like,
Mhm.
you know what? Maybe I need to sit with
Better.
myself and
Right.
think
Yeah.
about the things that I think of, because I agree with what they did. And people feel personally attacked when someone that they like, who shares the same ideology, gets like
Yes.
dragged
Yep.
through the
Mhm.
mud.
Exactly.
Because,
Because then you
parasocial
have to
relationships form
Yeah.
with like
People don't
content
like to have to
creators.
do introspection.
They
It's
don't.
scary.
They really
it's
don't.
hard.
No.
It's hard to
Mhm.
recognize that, maybe you've been wrong this entire time. Maybe
Yeah.
you've been wrong for
Absolutely.
20 years of your life, 30 years of your life. It's why boomers are so fucking obnoxious, because how could I have been wrong for 70 years of my life? But that's the reality. And if you
Yeah.
never really do that introspection, you get to that point where you've been wrong for 70 years.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then you're just so committed to being wrong that you just become this hateful individual, and that becomes your identity.
Absolutely.
You
Yep.
can do better. You can choose to do better, and you should do better
Yeah.
when you have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first
Absolutely.
best time was years ago, and the second best time is today.
Is
So-
right now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Right.
If iDubbbz can apologize, you can do it.
No, I'm
If
so-
that guy can
I'm
say
so
sorry.
glad you brought that up, because
Oh
I
my
wanted to,
God.
I actually wanted to
God.
mention, I
Mm.
wasn't going to say the name, but I wanted to mention something similar. You don't have to, if somebody apologizes, you should support the sentiment that they've chosen to be better, right? You don't have to like them. You don't have to be
Right.
like, oh, I'm a fan of your content now. Let's go. I'm your friend again. Let's go. You don't have to do that. If somebody
Exactly.
wronged you, if somebody made you uncomfortable, you don't have to fucking forgive them.
No.
But you can recognize that they have tried to be better, and you can celebrate that aspect of it.
It's the
It's okay,
end
I'm sorry.
here.
Yay! Good job.
This has been wonderful, Moon. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This was wonderful.
Yeah, this was
Absolutely.
really awesome.
I had a ton of fun.
Amazing.
And if you didn't see
Thanks for having
yesterday's
us on.
panel, go
Yeah.
watch it now.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Please go
Yeah.
watch part 1 as well. Please go check out all these amazing creators. I'm really, my heart's so full. I feel more connected to like I don't know, folks that share my labels than ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me feel really
I feel
good.
This
so
wouldn't have been
seen,
possible
like,
without
understood.
you, Moon.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have
Yeah.
been here if you didn't put us all in the same room to yap at each other.
It's
So thank
true,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we
Reminder.
shut up, Moon? Yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, shut up. As a reminder, if you are, questioning your own like sexuality, and you've, you're like, I think I might be bi, I think I might, or at least fall under the bi umbrella somehow, and you're looking for resources, like we said, don't learn from Tumblr University, from TikTok University, from Twitter University.
No.
Go to the
Good
source.
God, no.
Learn from your elders, learn from your history, and go check out actual resources. Biresource.org, stillbi.org. There's the Human Rights Campaign has a whole page on bisexual resources. The Journal of Bisexuality, if you're a bit nerdy and like reading academic papers, there's that. And actually yesterday, this resource we just added today was a segment from the 1a.org. It's like a podcast type video that Mari recommended that said that's also a great resource to go listen to. So go check those out. It is the end of Pride Month. And, I know it's been a rough one for all of us, especially those under the bi plus with all the biphobic stuff that went around this month. It was hard to watch. I just hope that this maybe put a lighter note at the end of Pride Month, and maybe you feel some connection instead of, the isolation. So
I feel more connected to my fellow bis than I think I ever have.
Yo, don't make me cry.
I'm not shitposting. I mean that genuinely. Let's make the rest of this year extra fucking gay to make up for this.
yeah.
It's time for wrath.
Yeah, it's time
Wrath
for
is
wrath.
up! Powered by spite!
Yeah.
Please go check out all these wonderful creators. Again, go follow all the wonderful folks. And happy Pride. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Be
Don't forget
who
to love
you
each other.
are.
Happy
For
gay.
you are.